CoCoTALK would like to thank the patrons who sponsor our show. So our heartfelt gratitude goes out to Al Hartman, Alan Murphy, Alan Huffman, Amigos Retro Gaming, Blair Ledoux, Brendan Donaghy, Brian Weasler, Karen Anscombe, D. Bruce Moore, Davey Mitchell, Diego, Eric Canales, Glenn Hewlett, Graham Vebke, Grant Leedy, Henry Strickland, Jason Downs, Jenna Farron, Ken Reichert, Kyle Etter, Malfunct, Michael Pitsley, Rick Ulland, Paul Fiscarelli, Paul Shoemaker, Paul Thayer, Rob Inman, Stephen Wagner, Steve Batson, Steve Rasmussen, Terry Steen, Terry Steggy, The Backyard Shed Gang, Tom C., Tom S., Tim Linder, Tom Heron, and Tony C. Thank you ever so much, patrons. CoCoTALK is an unscripted live broadcast. Anything can and will happen. The views and opinions expressed by members of the panel and the live audience are their own and not necessarily those of the CoCoTALK show, its sponsors, affiliates, or subsidiaries. Open minds encouraged, sense of humor recommended. If any off-color comments were made, we're sorry.
Hi, this is Dale Lear, designer of TRS-80 Color Baseball, and you're listening to CoCoTALK.
This is CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color computer. It's time to drop your socks, grab your real-time clocks, and let's rock.
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to CoCoTALK episode 211. That's right, this one goes to 11. We're here to rock your 8-bit world. Are you ready?
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
All right, we are here, and yes, history has been made. We actually pressed the button like a minute or two early, just because we were already here. The people who are making up the show are already here for the show, so why not just start the show? And even before we started the show, Kevin Holloway was one of the first people out there in the live stream saying, hey, is there anybody out there? And then we were then joined by Frodo, and then Marc O on Twitch, and Kevin Holloway is out there, and Nick Marotta is out there. Daddy Burrito is out there. Dave and Sharon, that's Mr. Dave, and Tom Gunn says, all hail CoCo, the mother of dragons. And Karen, one of our newest patrons, thanks for becoming a patron, Karen, author of Exroar, is out there. Mark Overholser, Ken Reichert is out there. We've got all kinds of people. And it's Saturday, so you know what time it is. David Craker on Facebook. You know what time it is. It is time to press the button and say goodnight, everybody. All right, so we're back for episode 212. We got a great panel for you in store today, folks. We have one of the most handsome men in retro, none other than Ron Delvaux. And by the way, this is the Marc episode. You notice that just about everybody has the name Marc in front of them because it was noticed that this show is a little Marc heavy. So we're going full on Marc today. So okay. Marc Ron Delvaux is here. How you doing, Marc Ron?
Hey, pretty good, but I want to ask you, pretty soon, you guys announced the patrons, and we're going like 12, 13 minutes on patrons. Do you have like an Aston Martin now, or? Yes,
but I'm no Nick Marentes, I can tell you that. It all goes into your getting your hair and nails done, Marc Ron Delvaux. So
okay. I haven't gotten my check, by the way.
Speaking of Marcs, Marc D. Overholser, our resident Apple guy, poster of the Links of News, is here. Hey, Marc D. Overholser.
Hey, yeah, and I'm a Marc, and I come by that naturally.
Yes, you do. Marc Allen Murphy is here. Hey, Marc Allen.
Howdy, howdy.
Welcome to the program, Marc Allen. We've just been joined by Marc L. Curtis Boyle. Hey, Marc L. How you doing?
Marky Mark.
Yes. Marc John Laury's here. Hey, Marc John.
Hey, everybody.
Marc Sloopy's here. Hey, Marc Sloopy. And
Greetings.
Marc Patrick Ulland is here. Hey, Marc Rick. How you doing?
Howdy, folks.
Marc Bosley is here. Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. How you doing? Our backup
I'm a
streamer.
Genuine Marc.
Genuine Marc. We got Marc Nick Marotta here. How you doing, Marc Nick?
I'm doing great, thank you.
The name's so nice, we must say it thrice and it loses all cadence. But when I say Marc Nick Marotta, Marc Nick Marotta, Marc Nick Marotta, it just doesn't flow the same. But we'll do the best we can. Have I missed any of the Marcs on the show? Am I on the mark? Am I off the mark? I don't know. I am Marc Stevie Stroh. Marc and Dave Sharon Verrier out there. Marc Kevin Holloway's out there. Marc 8-Bits in the basement is there. We're here. Marc L. Curtis Boyle just mentioned that he posted the link. So if you guys need to grab the links to run the news, we will do that. I believe we've got a video from Marc Samuel Gimes in a little bit, a new CoCo Thoughts. Marc Mikey is here. It's the Marc Show. All right, so enough with the intro. So you know who we are. Nobody cares. Why don't we get to something good? Why don't we get to Marc Nick Marotta's favorite part of the show, where we get into the game on results? And I believe we've got from Marc Samuel Gimes. Now, there is no Marc David Ladd right now, Marc Kevin Holloway. We don't see him. So how about we just play from Marc Samuel Gimes, the latest. Marc Frodo is out there, too. Hey, Marc Frodo. Yeah, Marc Sloopy.
Yes, I just wanted to interrupt for 1 second. Speaking of David Ladd, in honor of him, and knowing that he doesn't always drink the Diet Dr. Pepper, I got a new soda suggestion for him.
What is that? Squirt. All right, well, we're just going to leave that one right there on the table. You can deal with Squirt as you see appropriate. Marc L. Curtis Boyle's here. Marc Ken Reichert is here. All right, so let's see what Marc Samuel Gimes has been up to with his latest CoCo Thoughts.
And now, CoCo Thoughts by Samuel Gimes. But you're blasting rocks, not stars.
Wow, that was deep. That was deep. We're blasting rocks, not stars.
Can I just say that I'd like to put my stamp of approval on that one?
Yeah.
All right.
Was it what did you like best? The music, the singing, or?
I think it was in general. It was short, sweet, and sweet.
Okay, there we go. Ron Delvaux approves.
Being an astronomer.
And astronomically correct.
Yeah. Astronomically correct. Marc David Craker's out there. All right, so let's see what Marc Marotta's favorite part of the show is here.
High Score Challenge
with Nick Marotta.
All right, and welcome back to the results of this week's Game On Challenge. The game was Star Blaster, and there were 18 participants, and the scores were: CoCo Discord user, 3,630 points. Brian Weasler, 3,980. Henry Nonick, 4,250. MrDave 6309, 4,370. Nico, 4,880. David Craker, 8,880. Damon Beals, 9,030. Tom C, 13,010. Rich N, 13,700. Paul Shoemaker, 14,360. Canadian Retro Things, 14,540. Sloopy Malibu, 15,310. Low Level, 17,160. Rick U, 18,430. L. Curtis Boyle, 21,960. Buck Owens, 36,700. Karen, 48,710. And the number one score this week was Tasman with a whopping 104,860 points. Great job, Tasman, and thanks to everyone who participated.
Woohoo, look at that.
not one mark there.
There was
Not one.
Mark Tasman got the best score though.
By a long shot. Yes, he did.
It's almost like there was 2 different games being played there.
I know, right?
So no one left their mark, I guess.
Oh, well,
Hey,
yeah.
Stevie, can I share?
You can share, Marc Marotta. By all means, knock yourself out.
Alrighty. So yeah, we had a good turnout, 18 people. That's pretty good. And yeah, Tasman, congratulations. He definitely figured out he was a big fan of asteroids, and in general, I believe, and he liked this version as well. This is Canadian Retro Things submitted a video again. Thank you,
Nice.
Ken. Check out his channel, Canadian Retro Things, for retro stuff, including CoCo and other platforms. Yeah, it was a mixed bag. Some people liked the game. Some people weren't as enthralled with it. I will agree with some of the criticisms, like the joystick control. I liked using the joystick, but for some reason you couldn't rotate all the way around with the joystick.
From what I can tell, I think the position of the joystick, because it's analog, is which 64 degrees of rotation you're at. So you can't keep wrapping around. You stop and then you have to go all the way back.
Exactly.
Which is annoying.
Whereas with the keyboard, it would rotate all the way around like you expect it to. But I didn't like the keyboard keys that they used. So for me, neither input was ideal for me. But I used the joystick because I much preferred the mechanics of it.
I've never seen a pair of scissors shoot anything.
I thought it was a hypodermic needle, but yeah, scissors.
Yeah, it's a COVID thing. This is actually topical now.
Yeah.
It's a good thing they didn't make the end of that round.
So, but I mean, the graphics are, aside from the fact your ship looks like scissors, I thought the graphics were pretty true, true to asteroids. And this game looked really nice in the CoCo 3 with black and white.
Oh, just
on the RGB,
pure RGB, huh?
Because it's a monochrome game, so it looked really nice on the CoCo 3, I thought.
This one actually has an MC10 conversion too. I can't remember, was it Darren Atkinson who did that one? But he actually ported this one to the lower res, medium res mode, I guess, in the MC10.
This looks Vectrex.
Yeah, it does look very vector.
Your arcade game was a vector game too, so.
And
it's
unlike
go ahead.
Unlike Asteroids, this one had shields, which was actually from Asteroids Deluxe, so it had a bit of stuff from both games.
Now, wouldn't this sound good with a music scene behind it?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, good looking game.
Yeah, the keyboard controls are a little bit odd. Now it's kind of lucky he did do it that way because, if you change your keyboard out for some of the third-party keyboards, there's some keys moved around, or the CoCo 3, the arrow keys all got jumbled into one thing. It actually plays a little bit easier than it would have. But at the time this was written in 1981, none of that had happened yet, so it was an odd choice for the time.
What are the actual keys?
D and F to rotate.
Yeah, D and F's left and right rotate. Right arrow is fire. Left arrow is space bar is shield.
Interesting.
Yeah. And the other
it keeps it left and right hand, which is correct. I mean, that's how I would have done it too. But it's an odd choice to use D and F. I don't know. What
I would understand Z and X maybe. Some people use Z and X for rotating. I don't know. But obviously on the CoCo 2, it would have been good to use the arrow keys.
Where do you keyboard with a Z key?
Sorry, that's a Canadian key.
No, the Z key is when you take the letter Z and you put a little line through the middle. That turns it into a Z. So.
DNF stands for don't finish.
Yeah, no, it's a good clone. It actually I've much preferred over the other clones we had, and we had a few like microbes, which was originally called color meteoroids when Spectrum sold it themselves. It doesn't play as well as this, to be honest, even with the odd key layout.
Yeah, the gameplay itself is good.
I did find out hunting doesn't work quite as well as here as I remember in the arcade. Now maybe that's just because it's been so long since I played any version of Asteroids. Maybe I just lost the touch. But the old hunting thing to get your score up, it didn't work for me on this one.
You mean leaving one asteroid behind and
one slow moving one that's going either almost straight vertical or straight horizontal, and then you just fly across the screen so that the saucers can't home in on you, but you can just blast them as they keep appearing.
And what was happening to you when you tried that?
Well, they'd shoot me even when I was moving, so it didn't seem to be, because I know in the arcade game you could keep that going up real and infinitely if you were good at it. So
Gimes nailed it. No stars.
That's even worse. There aren't even stars. You're right.
Yeah.
Not only are you not shooting stars, there are no stars.
No.
I think the star is supposed to be the player of the game.
So antiseptic.
And you're gonna get blasted, so it's accurate.
Or you are blasting. The star of the game is
Touchy-feely
blasting.
game.
Star Blaster.
A touchy-feely game from the 80s.
Yes.
I have a bit of gameplay from Tasman. He submitted a short clip of how fast the asteroids go.
Oh, when you get to look
certain
at
level.
that score, 104 freaking thousand.
So
Look at
it's a
that.
very short clip, but here are the asteroids moving.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
Ooh, look at those things.
Ouch.
That's a little bit on the insane side, if you ask me.
Yeah.
And I did have one small asteroid that hardly moved, maybe a pixel a step. I've never seen one that slow in any asteroid-like game.
Yeah, depending on the exact angle you shoot the asteroid and how close you are to it, I think is what it derives it
'Cause
from.
you-
I had
you
once or
end
twice
up-
where it got pretty close.
You end up affecting its like inertia and stuff, depending on how you hit it, right? So
It's neat that there's pieces and parts.
yeah. Yeah,
It's
it does look
based
better.
on
It does look better RGB without the artifacting, where you can just see all the because like the little tiny dust particles when it explodes look kind of cool.
Yeah, this is Kieran's video. Thank you, Kieran.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and Karen did really well too, so this must have been a popular
Yes,
game.
yes.
Yeah, this is a long one. I won't show
that
it all,
Marc-
obviously.
Marc
About 10
Kieran?
minutes. Yeah, Marc Kieran.
Marc Kieran Anscombe, yes.
Yeah.
Author of Marc Roar.
I thought it was X Mark, but okay.
X Mark, yeah. X Mark the Spot Roar. So
the interesting bit of trivia in this game, which I mentioned last week, but for those who didn't catch last week's episode, I might as well repeat it here, is this was released in 1981 by Microworks, which was not known for games. This is the only game they sold, as far as I know. They usually sold assemblers and stuff. In fact, one of the better ones. But this one was actually sold on cartridge for $39.95 US back in 1981-82 type thing. So this is one of the very few third-party carts at the time. I think Antico did a few. The Dragon had quite a few. Were done third-party.
I'm noticing
the
that
world is black. The world is white.
I'm
Are
noticing
you going to be singing for the next time in Gimes episode?
Karen is like on the spot with that shield too. Was there any limitation to how often you could shield? Or
Yeah, the number in the upper left corner is how many seconds left on your shield, basically. The longer you hold it down, of course.
Okay,
it
so
eats it
there's
up.
a 4 and a 2. Okay, and that 4 is turned to a 3. So that first number is how many shields you have.
Yeah, and the second one is how many ships left you have.
Gotcha. Okay. But yeah, his timing on that shield was like impeccable.
Yeah.
Also, Kieran plays it a lot differently than most people I see, where he's actually actively flying around a lot. Most people kind of stick in the middle and move if they have to type thing.
Yeah, this one really rewarded flying around.
I'm going to sleep now.
Good night, Marc Ron.
Okay.
Cool.
It's another space game. You should like it, Ron. Oh, sorry?
I was going to say one little interesting fact about asteroids. Being a vector scan game, there's no graphics. The whole program is like inside 4 kilobytes.
Wow.
It's all math.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
It's all line
plot these points.
Huh.
And the logic too, but it's not. There's not much.
Mark
to the
math.
logic.
It's Marc Math, yes.
Now, we did do one cheat in here compared to the arcade, which I don't know if you guys have noticed. It's a bit subtle, but in the original arcade game, the asteroids spin. On this one, they don't, except for your ship, of course.
Well, that's
No
probably
matter how you shoot them, they just
yes.
there's a lot of those calculations,
Yeah.
especially to keep the speed up, like we saw in Tasman's video with this many, because you get more asteroids every wave too. I think you start in 5 big ones, and 6, then 7, then 8, then the speed starts increasing. And once you blast those big 8 ones into a bunch of small ones, you can potentially have a lot of stuff moving on the screen. So
Yeah.
I don't think he wanted the extra, having to figure
They
out.
should have called this game Asteroid Belt. Would be more appropriate.
Maybe a
Well,
little
the
too
original
close.
arcade game was called Asteroids. So
Yeah, maybe a little too close to the mark.
And that one down there is moving really slow. You see it. Like its trajectory is like just crawling.
that's the ones I like to use when I'm hunting.
Yeah.
When I was trying that technique, but like I said, they did
So
seem to
slow
be
you
able to track
can't
me.
shoot it.
Yeah.
I had key repeat too, which I don't believe the arcade game had.
Yeah, it only shot 4 at a time, but that's still.
Yeah, there were times where I didn't use the key repeat. I actually would let go and start tapping it because I wanted to space my shots, because otherwise you get that burst and then you have this blank space where the asteroid can sneak in and crush you. like a grape.
Oh, Karen is saying the original Asteroids didn't spin either. Maybe that was Asteroids Deluxe. I honestly I don't remember
yeah, it
because did it?
When you shot them, it definitely. I'm pretty sure.
Well, they broke in half when you shot them.
But did they
Yeah,
rotate?
but in the arcade game, they spun too, like the Vector spun as they went, didn't it?
I don't know.
I'm pretty
not
sure.
I can't remember.
Somebody's gonna have
It was Asteroid Deluxe where they were spinning.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that actually. I thought the original Asteroids did because I didn't play Deluxe too much. We didn't have it up here. I'll have to check.
I had an opportunity to buy an Asteroids Deluxe machine for $100 at one point. I just didn't have the $100. Otherwise, I'd own it till this day.
Well, was there an official Asteroids for the Vectrex, which is like a cousin of the CoCo with a 6809, but actually has a vector display like the original arcade game did?
No, it came with Mindstorm built in, which is well, it's very Asteroids-like, but you end up with a minesweeper that lays different kinds of mines. Some just kind of grow and move around like the Asteroids. Others actually will track you down on the screen regardless. And yeah, so but it's built-in game. So yeah, every Vectrex has Asteroids clone kind of thing in it. There was a bug in that one though, that if you got over 13 waves, the game would crash. And so they didn't think anyone would ever get there. No big deal. People started reporting the problem. They ended up releasing Mindstorm 2. It includes the fix for the bug crash. And those cartridges you only got if you mailed into GCE and said you crashed the Mindstorm in your machine. So the Mindstorm 2 ROMs are out there. GCE released the rights to all their ROMs for everybody to have and play for non-commercial purposes. So the Mindstorm 2 ROM is out there, and that's the one to play if you're really going to go hard at it.
All right.
So a correction. Now Karen is right. I just went and checked the video. The original 1979 Asteroids did not spin the Asteroids. It is Deluxe. I was thinking of. So
okay.
Interesting.
I did just check that too.
I have a model of the ship right here.
He's got the scissors. Ron's got it.
I'm shooting.
Wow.
So the original Atari Asteroids is one of the first arcade games I ever remember seeing. That and Lunar Lander. And these were some of the games that just sparked my fascination and obsession with video games and graphics and sound and animation and stuff. You know, it's just like seeing these. It's hard to imagine that there was a time when nobody had really seen a video game before. Nobody had seen computer screens and seen graphics and sound and stuff. And I just remember being like at a bowling alley or convenience store or something and seeing these games. And I was, maybe 10, 12 years old or something, and just being like, oh my God, this is, the future is here. This is amazing.
I guess I got lucky because Asteroids for me was probably a couple years in from when I saw my first games, because I saw like the original Space War from '77, Outlaw, Atari Football, like the mid '70s, black and white style games, and then Asteroids was actually after Space Invaders, wasn't it?
It's Pong that turned me off, basically.
Breakout was the first game I had seen.
Space Invaders.
Breakout, Sub Hunt.
Yeah, I think this is one of the first upright arcade cabinets I'd seen. Like, I don't know if maybe I saw a Pong machine, an old black and white Pong machine at home or something like that, but I remember this is one of the first real arcade machines I'd ever seen.
Yeah, Pong I never saw in the arcade. It was long gone by the time arcades started hitting up here. But Space War from '77, I remember seeing. That was the one that floored me. It's a vector game too. It's very similar graphics actually.
Yeah.
Space Invaders was one of the early ones.
There's nothing
right?
like seeing a Pong game where the screen's burned in.
Yeah.
That's a good.
It's like the home shopping channel in a bar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Space Invaders was one of the early ones, right?
Yeah, '78.
Yeah, that's one. I think that was the first game I
Asteroids
ever
was
played.
'79. Space War, which is a sequel or variation of Computer Space, the original '71 game that Nolan Bushnell did, the very first commercial game, even before Pong, came out in '77 from Cinematronics, I think. And that was a 2-player only game basically, but it was, and you paid for every minute and a half of play. You didn't like last or try to last as long. You had to just keep bumping in quarters.
Which game was that?
Space War.
I remember that one. The cabinet was like 6 feet wide, so the two players stood side by side.
Yeah.
No
joysticks. It was all keys, to rotate and stuff just like this. But you get to select parts of the game at the beginning too. Like, do you want the central star to have gravity or not? Like, you get to customize the game. when you were playing it too, which is cool for an arcade game. But it was very expensive to play, considering it cost $1, a quarter every minute and a half, irregardless of how good or bad of a player you were.
Right.
Regardless, love it.
Uh,
And there's a version of that roughly for the CoCo 2. We saw one that we've actually featured here that just got released recently, which is a port of the original MIT one from '61 from the PDP. But there was also a Spectral did one called, I think it was called Space War, wasn't it? It was a little bit different, but it was based loosely on it. It had a little Death Star thing in the center with a rotating shield around you to shoot through too.
It was a black hole. I actually posted a link to a video of it. With a gravitational force.
Very cool.
But Asteroids, I think, is the first hugely popular vector game that I know.
Or
by far.
You mean Asteroids? Because Space Invaders was not a vector game.
No, that was CRT.
Yeah, and Lunar Lander was impressive too for the time. The whole gravity and thrusting, and then how you started off small, and then how it kind of zoomed in as you got closer to the landing spot. It was like, as a young kid who, with no previous experience playing video games, that just seemed damn near impossible. It's like, what the hell am I doing here? Pressing these buttons, trying to thrust and slow down. And it's like,
yeah, 79 was a good.
Essentially the same hardware as Asteroids.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Nick.
I guess the shots have limited range. It looks like CRT should have been able to hit that asteroid.
Right.
And the shots fizzled out.
Yeah, and they do wrap the screen if you're near the edge too, as do the saucers.
Yeah.
79 was a good year for first in the arcade, though. It was 79 was Asteroids was the first really popular vector game. It was a huge hit for Atari, and of course Galaxian was the first color video game. So.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Very cool. Is there anything else that needs to be said about this, or are we ready to move on to the next?
It's a hard game. It's definitely not one you'll master too easily unless your name is Tasman, apparently.
Can't most Marks do well?
Yeah, most of the Marks did well. Yeah, Marc Tasman did the best.
It's just Tasman doing what Tasman does. Between him and Buck Owens, they're usually dominating the lists.
I do have to say it was nice that the first real CoCo version, because I think this one might have even came out before Spectral's version, actually introduced the shield from Asteroids Deluxe. So we had a more advanced one than most 8-bits at the time had. I mean, definitely some Asteroids Deluxe clones came out on other machines afterwards, but the CoCo kind of just said, or Jim Gerrie, the guy who wrote it, basically said, Asteroids is pretty cool. It's already been out for a couple of years, though, in the arcade. So let's just throw in this extra shield thing from the Deluxe game that most home machines don't have.
Well, Asteroids had the hyperspace instead.
The warp, yeah, which you could warp right into a rock, possibly.
Yeah, so you're taking a chance.
Right. Yeah.
I prefer the shield myself.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah. And then 60's saying, I did notice you can't shoot the spaceships if they're straddling the top and bottom of the screen. So they have like a little, I guess there's a little safety zone that they could be in where they, I guess the collision detection wouldn't read.
Yeah. Does that work for the player too? Can you not get hit yourself if you're straddling? I wonder.
That'd be
I always wondered how the logic was done in Asteroids. Like when there was a lot of rocks moving around and you got killed, it would wait until there was a clear enough space around you to put you in the center. Because otherwise, they could put you in the center. And
right. Just to keep having to spawn kill, which would be completely frustrating.
Yeah. On this one, at least you get to choose. You have to hit enter to respawn, so you can wait as long as you want. In fact, you can use that as a game pause if you want to.
And
I didn't like that. I should have been the fire button.
I disagree, because with auto fire, that means you might be holding it down, you get killed, and you're instantly back on again when you didn't want to be. So
true.
Because a lot of people hold down the key, in which case you'd be spawned death right off the bat.
My only problem, which someone else had too, was the space bar on my CoCo isn't quite perfect. So neither thumb was reliable to raise the shields. I would have to move to the center of the keyboard so I could whack the space bar right in the middle. And by the time I did that, what's the point? So,
yeah. Frodo's got an interesting bit of trivia here in the chat. He was wondering about how popular Lunar Lander was compared to Asteroids. There was about 5,000 machines sold of Lunar Landers versus over 70,000 of Asteroids.
Oh, yeah.
Slight difference.
Was a lot
Slight difference.
No, I never had trouble with my space bar because I had a Marc Data.
Oh,
that was a beautiful
keyboard. Marc Data too. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, but Lunar Lander is one of my favorite video games of all time. I just love
Mr. Dave is asking, is Fortnite next week's game the CoCo 3 version?
Yeah, go ahead and start playing Fortnite.
I'm just waiting for Dave to finish porting it. So,
and make sure when you put Fortnite on a cartridge, it's got blinky lights, okay, Mr. Dave?
He's waiting for an OS9 to get done.
That's why it's forever in beta. It's never going to be done, and I always have an excuse.
All right. The suspense is killing everyone here.
All right. So next week's game is a request.
Uh-oh.
A request by Stevie. I think you'll know what this game is, Stevie.
Uh-oh. Oh, I know that
Gallery.
game. I know that
Shooting
game.
Gallery from James Gerrie.
All right.
I hope you didn't take that screenshot from my site, did you?
Yeah, why?
I got to redo it because it's not showing all the artifact colors. That's got to be an older VCC version or something.
Oh, yeah, I get all my screenshots from your site when they're there.
Well, let me write that one down here because that's got to get changed.
The bottom, like the owls, kind of remind me of like PAL artifacting, where you kind of get that pseudo color from the vertical stripes, you know.
So you got to be careful when you're shooting. Some things you have to shoot them in the right state, otherwise they add other objects back, and some objects will change the direction.
Yeah,
some will give you extra bullets,
and you got some that give you extra bullets, but you play until you run out of bullets. And,
Who wrote this one?
James Gerrie.
This was Datasoft, Steve Bjork's early company.
Mark.
And yeah, Marc James Gerrie. Yeah, that's the teddy bear.
The bonus level.
Yeah. In the arcade, in the carnival version in the arcade, you were shooting at those ducks, and every now and then the duck would fly down, and if you couldn't get him, he would start eating some of your bullets away from you too. So every now and then one of those ducks would dive bomb you. And if you didn't shoot the duck on his way down and he made it to the bottom, he would go across the bottom and start eating up some of your bullets. This one doesn't have that, but the faces, you have to shoot them when they're smiling. If you shoot them when they're sad, they put another rabbit on the screen, I think.
Yeah.
The row above the faces, which is the bullseye, when you shoot those, it changes the direction. It inverts the direction of the left and right that everything's going on. And the diamonds, which are the hardest to hit, if you hit a diamond, it gives you extra bullets.
Aha.
Yeah, and those are
and
super
doesn't your
hard to
bullet
hit.
slow down the further up it goes?
That part I don't remember. I know the overall movement was based on the cycles, and the more stuff you had on the screen, the slower everything was. So everything got faster when you got fewer objects to animate. Which is why when you were shooting that teddy bear, he started to get really, really fast when he got in the middle of the screen. If you were lucky to shoot him twice or three times, because he would like change directions and start running the other way every time you hit him, but he got to be so fast you could never hit him hardly ever. That was kind of your bonus round, which Clowns and Balloons didn't really have a bonus round. It was just he kept catching. So this one had the bonus round, similar to the Tapper game, right? Beer Master.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting idea. David Craker's saying it would be interesting if somebody could hack this to use the Dicom light gun adapter. Now that would be kind of cool, like a Nintendo-style duck hunt where you're shooting with your actual gun
that would
at
take
them.
some fair bit of reprogramming because the game's not designed for shooting at a particular spot on the screen.
Yeah, but that would be really interesting.
Idea.
Yeah.
Not to mention their TVs aren't CRTs anymore.
Yeah. Well,
So how that works.
Listen, don't be a naysayer there, Marc John Laury. Okay. All right, you're just raining on our parade.
I thought I heard there was a gun that works with LCDs.
There is one now. Yeah, I've heard that too.
Now that would be a really cool idea.
But thanks for picking this one, Nick, and thanks for pointing out that my screenshots are crap. Because
I didn't say a word. You're the one that's outing yourself.
Well, no, the thing is, this is one of the games that really, really showed off the extra artifacting colors, the yellows, the purples, etc., like Sands of Egypt did, another Datasoft product.
Yeah.
But this is one of the early ones that really showed it off well, and this screenshot from the earlier versions of VCC does not do it justice at all.
Oh, okay.
Or MAME or whatever it was. I don't think you were using VCC back in the day, Curtis, but and
yeah, this far back, I don't remember. It would have been VCC 143 or an old version MAME.
Because those oranges still look fairly orange. Like for VCC, the red and blues were a lot darker. So this looks.
Yeah, it could have been an early version of MAME then before they added Sockmaster's subtle algorithm.
Yeah.
Took the vertical and the horizontals into.
Yeah. So, yeah, fun game.
All right.
Fun game. Early Tandy cartridge. It was one of the games that you could play and be proud to show your friends. Like some of the early cartridges were not the most impressive games in the world. Like some of the early Space Invader clones and Galaxian clones were just real repetitive, not very terribly impressive looking, like the Galactic Attack and a few things like that. So some of those early CoCo games, but also those things came out, you know, on 4K when the CoCo was still in prototype mode. But by the time Datasoft got in the action and they were doing 16K cartridges, they were really starting to make the CoCo something to be proud of, you know.
All right, so thanks a lot for guys for participating, and thank you, Stevie, for letting me do this part, and thanks for the great score results videos you've been doing.
Well, we got some comments on that. Karen did not like the improved production value, so I think the period correct ones were more popular.
Well, I'm just taking a little bit of a break from doing it, so Steve's helping me out, but we'll get back to those.
Yeah, well, and I'm trying to do something different each time, so maybe I'll do. Maybe the next one, if I do another one, will be more period correct.
I thought it was cool.
I was going for a kind of Star Trek-y type font.
Yeah.
But yeah. So with.
All right. So thank you.
Yes.
See you next week.
There we go. Nick's done. All right, everybody. So Nick's ready to move on. Nick's
I'm leaving the building.
He's dropping the mic.
All right, Mark.
Oh, sorry, he's dropping the mark.
Yeah. Marc Nick Marotta is done with all of these shenanigans. So at this point, I guess we're just going to press the button. Good night, everybody. We do have Game On news, and we have news, and we might even have updates and acquisitions. Who knows? So we'll just keep the train.
Well, I was
going to
ask you about that. I joined late, so unfortunately I didn't get to take part in the pre-show discussion. But because we've been kind of dropping the the updates and stuff, and sloughing some of that stuff off, is there some people that want to get some stuff that we can make sure we can actually get on the show for a change? I
remember Brian Weasler throwing something out saying he could join us later. So maybe if Brian Weasler does get on. Does anybody else here have anything they wanted to update? Any show and tell, projects to share, stories to share?
Yeah, I've got a quickie for.
All right. So if you want to go ahead and do that, Rick, we'll give you the floor. No pressure, but
let me steal the screen if I may. And okay, click the share button and maybe it'll work.
Model 3 back, huh?
Last a while back, I showed this Tandy hard disk controller, and from the outside, it looks like any other Tandy product, but Mr. Weasler was asking me about it, so I had to look inside, and kind of interesting.
What is there?
It's actually a host adapter, so that the controller, which is actually in the Tandy hard drive case, can be connected to the CoCo. But the thing I'm noticing interesting about this is it was designed with a ruler and sticky decals, if you want to call it that. I can tell by these little between track things, the stick-on IC pads all had that on them. So this was actually drawn in Fort Worth in some guy's engineering room.
Wow.
It's like homemade.
By hand.
Homemade, exactly. It was hand soldered, and they didn't clean the solder off.
Wow.
So
and that's the way Tandy sold it. Wow.
Yeah, that's what they sold. Well, it had shield, a piece of silver cardboard tape on the bottom, but yeah, you'd never guess it from in here. They've hidden everything to make it look very nicely done. But yeah, it's some guy with a ruler and some stick-on tape made this thing.
I would have to guess then that means they didn't think it was going to sell, because their hard drives, the only hard drives they sold that hooked up to this thing were hugely expensive.
Exactly.
Thousands.
And 30 megabytes was the big one.
And the outer casing of that thing was just their stock one that they hacked.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. It has plastic screws holding it together and a couple other things.
Oh, plastic screw. Wow.
Yeah,
Tandy's even cheaper than normal. Wow.
Here it is.
They're any expense? No.
Plastic screws holding the top and bottom together because it didn't snap together. So anyway, I figured if they can do it, I can do it too. So I got all Big Clive on it and made a wee doodle. And I'm running it through KiCad. So if anyone wants to try to plug one of these big old Tandy drives in, I'll have a gizmo to do that.
And that was a SASE drive, wasn't it?
I believe it was, but this interface doesn't match anything in the world. In particular, the ground and VCCs in the middle here are wrong. So if you tried to...
It's not SCSI?
It's not SCSI, it's not SASE. This is just a weird connect. Well, I don't know what it really is, because this is a weird connector, so it doesn't match any pin out. Like I say, these two shouldn't be ground. I think the ground... Yeah, it's hard to say what's.
Well,
in
the
there.
drive's MFM. That's just the recording technology. The interface, I think, was SASE or based on SASE, if I remember.
Right, and then the host adapter was just a whole nother thing. So the deal was host adapter, cable to the controller proper, then cables to the hard drive, and the controller and the hard drive were in the candy case.
And that's those big black monsters that you actually had on your shelf at one time, didn't you?
Exactly, that I pulled out a couple weeks ago to show I had 4 of the dang things. So
wow, you must have been rich back then.
No, these were all donations. Well, a local doctor had his business running on a CoCo.
Wow.
Believe it or not, on Tandy hard drive. So I have a bunch of very obsolete medical records. And anyway, so
there's a cure. There's a cure for something hidden in there. It might be the cure for COVID, man. You never know, man. Fire those puppies up.
and here I thought I had the last one in existence.
We're gonna have a whole bunch of them in little ROM pack cases, I guess. So yeah, I'm halfway through a KiCad sketch because it's all just stick tags on everything now. You don't have to draw any lines anymore. So hopefully I will.
Essentially, it's a parallel port.
It's does a couple of things, but yeah, it's just kind of adapting the CoCo's bus to this proprietary Tandy thing. They also had one for the Model 1 and their PC clone and
interesting.
So this is quite literally glue logic. I mean, quite literally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's well, like Birkenberg did the same thing, except host adapter went to a WD 1002 with an XT bus on one side of it. Yeah, so it was a pretty popular. And then of course in IDE they moved the controller onto the drive physically, and no computer has a drive controller anymore. They just have a host interface to the IDE drive, or then SATA now and all of that. But in any case, that's what I've been playing with this morning because my brain is burned out on staring at code. So I draw something.
Yeah, there was a time when I remember back in the days of early PC stuff where you had was like the MFM drives. You had 2 cables. One was control and one was data, right? So your controller actually was controlling stuff. And
that's what the Birkenberg used.
Yeah.
And then you bought a new drive and found out, oh, this is an RLL drive, and now I have to find a new controller for my old computer because the old controller won't work with this drive. And so, yeah.
Those were the days.
That's what I did with the Birkenberg myself. I had an RLL on there that I had mixed up a controller versus the drive, and I had to go get a different one.
I was too poor to own a hard drive back in those days.
Yeah. I think the first hard drive I got was from my Tandy 1000. It was a hard card, where it was a full-length, controller card and hard drive on a, full-length thing that went into an ISA slot. 20 megabyte hard card in my Tandy 1000.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because the CoCo actually, we had hard drives pretty early on for an 8-bit. I mean, we had the Tandy one, we had the Canton did the SCSI one. There were SASE ones from people like Disto and Frank Hogg and others, but they're all very expensive. The drives are expensive. The controllers are hundreds of dollars. And the first one that really took off and started making it popular was the Birkenberg because it used cheap off-the-shelf, PC. You just got the little, card itself and the drive, and it plugged it into the XT controller or XT adapter, as Rick said, from Birkenberg, and then you could use these cheap drives. So the prices of hard drives literally overnight dropped in half.
Exactly. My first was a 225 that you had to run upside down because I took it out of an old dead XT, and it was tired of running right side up.
The weight of all the cast iron platters where the motor couldn't turn them anymore. Those things you drop a freaking hard drive on your foot, besides killing the drive, you're killing your foot and putting a crater in your floor at the same time. So those things are wicked. Good.
It's tough as a Nokia.
Oh, yeah. All right. I know we're kind of going out of order here, but did anybody else have something they wanted to talk about? Or maybe if
I just wanted to show something real quick.
All right, hold on. Let's spotlight Ron Delvaux.
Okay.
And you're looking very, very handsome today, Marc Ron Delvaux.
Well, I can't help it. Can you see that?
We can.
Okay, my Cocoa Pi works so well that when you have it in the Raspberry Pi side of Linux, it does artifact colors.
Oh, that's Facebook, a picture of Facebook from your Raspberry Pi?
Yes, and it's got artifact colors.
Well, what screen are you running it on?
It's a Scepter TV, LCD.
Okay.
Yeah, weird, huh?
That is.
Yep. The other question I'd have is, does anybody put a CoCo in a Dragon?
Does anybody put a CoCo in a Dragon?
I know there's alternate ROMs you can get for the Dragon that will run the Dragon hardware from the
CoCo would probably fit in there. There's so much room, and the power supply would go in it, right? Do you think?
You might have to cut. There's a bit of a separation between the power supply section at the back and then the main part. So on the CoCo, that's all one board. So you might have to cut some of the support or something off.
Yeah,
All right, start the clock and see how long it takes before a horde of Dragon users with pitchforks and torches. For that.
Also, the keyboard interface. I don't know if it's the same or not.
Yeah, this is a my CoCo Pi. I don't have a CoCo 3 keyboard for it.
Okay.
But, I will someday.
So you got a CoCo Pi inside a CoCo case with a CoCo keyboard.
Yeah, and you can type on it, and then when it's on, the Linux part, when I go do some Facebook on it, you're typing on this keyboard, which is just a little weird.
Okay.
How is the interface from the CoCo keyboard?
I got that from.
Is that the Paul Fiscarelli one?
Yes, I think I have a picture down here.
The win.
Yes. I have this keyboard here for the tab key, so I can get the menu to come up.
Because the CoCo.
There's no tab
well,
here.
what you can do, Ron, is you can, once you bring up MAME and go into UI settings, you could remap the menu key to a different key on your CoCo keyboard.
Yeah.
Like
But
shift right arrow or something.
Who wants to do work?
Okay.
Plus, I have this keyboard named as a Tandy.
Yeah, you do.
So it
Tandy
looks-
sticker on there.
It looks official, and so when I'm in the Linux mode, I put this on top of the computer, and I use that.
Okay. Yeah,
So-
that's pretty
I
cool.
do find it ironic too that the CoCo had much bigger motherboard and bigger power supply and all that stuff, but we didn't need a fan.
No,
you
have to have one in this one, and every once in a while it vibrates, right? And I'm thinking, who's got a vacuum on? That's it, guys. Thank you.
Oh, that's cool. That is cool. That is a neat little different way to CoCo. How am I fixing my... Here we go. There we go. Fixing the Zoom stuff here. We've only been Zooming for how long now? Marc... hold on. What the hell is Marc Overholser doing here? Hey, Marc Overholser. Do you copy? You're muted. You're still muted.
Do you have any crickets?
Okay, so I do. Yes, we do.
Hey, there we go. Can't run the mouse with my left hand. Yes, I had. Mark Bosley sent me something.
Okay. Are we going to do an on-the-air unboxing?
It wouldn't be that exciting.
Okay.
Just a bunch of hard drives.
Just a bunch of hard drives. Well, maybe once you get them all out of the box, you can hold them up and we can go ooh and ah.
It's an ultimate J-bod.
Ah. Now, Mr. Day was asking a question, is there a Dragon Pi? And technically, you can boot up the Dragon in CoCo Pi. It's one of the menus. You can do it through XROAR or through MAME. So, yes, you can run Dragon emulation on the CoCo Pi image. Okay.
Couldn't you use a Dragon as donor parts for board?
Dragon as donor parts for what?
For Pedro's blank CoCo 2 board?
Oh, donor parts. We're not making friends across the pond today, now, are we, folks?
We're only talking about having a special Dragon episode.
Yeah, well, we haven't publicly unveiled that yet, but yeah, that's something.
That movie Coma.
Oh yeah, when they're like harvesting parts from the sleeping patients. Yeah, that was a Michael Crichton. Yeah.
A bunch of dragons hanging from wires.
Oh Lord!
Pretty soon there's going to be CoCoTALK hosts hanging from wires from the Dragon people.
We are going to hell today, folks.
I refuse.
Okay, we just got from Explorer VR. He says, "Don't worry, we still like you." And 60 says, "Heresy, right?" Oh Lord. All right. If there are no other updates, and if updates come later, we can always go back to update mode. But do we want to move back to game on news? Whoa! Look at that.
Can you zoom up?
I'm gonna zoom up on Marc Overholser, Marky Mark.
You can see my packing job.
Okay.
Yeah, well done.
A lot of hard drives in there.
Are they all 20 megabytes?
They have
not that big.
They're various. Let's see. This one is. It looks like a 2500, so 2.5 gig, I think. No, 250.
Are these all IDE drives, or are there a mix of?
Well, we can't see what you're looking at, Mark. I know you're looking at it to see what it is, but hold it up where we can see it too. Okay, it's got a nice.
Yeah, that's the box that's got the newer stuff in it.
Okay,
there's some.
I have 4 boxes that have.
Crikey!
8 drives each.
4 boxes of hard drives.
What exactly are you doing with these drives?
Yeah, focus.
He's going to set up a cloud storage solution running on a Raspberry Pi, and he'll be mining bitcoins with it.
He's getting him out of
CoCo for that.
He's getting him out of my office.
It's Marc's storage services.
So if any of you need some drives, I have them for a reasonable price.
Are you gonna
But that's why I was asking, like, what type of drives do you have there? Because that might be of some interest to people that still have some of the old controllers, but their old drives are dead. If these still work, like if there's old, XT based ones or SCSI or whatever.
There's some SCSI. I asked for all the SCSI ones and a bunch of the bigger serial ATA and some of the parallel ATA. So he still has more drives. So
SATA, PATA, SCSI.
Yeah. Are you going to make a music array?
SCSI.
Yeah, sure.
And make them sing for us?
Oh, like the Floppytron thing where you can get all the noise going?
Only we do it with hard drives and do the William Tell Overture or something.
Oh, here's a 2.5-inch IBM.
There's nothing like the sound of a hard drive stepping motor that can't quite turn the platters, and you hear that
tick, yeah.
Time to slap the drive.
Another sound is the sound of a hard drive in the wrapper.
Right, in the wrapper. Yeah, it's almost as annoying as Marc's keyboard. Yeah, so
there's some excitement in getting a new hard drive in the mail, and opening it up and it has the wrapper.
So some of those little 2-inch drives are down in the 2 gig range.
Yeah.
I always use
6 gig range.
Whenever I'm working on somebody's PC and for my day job, I always use the fact that if I can hear your hard drive, it's probably time to replace it. Because you really shouldn't hear the data flowing off the platter. When you can hear the platters, there's something wrong with that hard drive, and that's when it's time to throw an SSD in there.
Rick mentioned that ST225. There was no mistaking when that thing was on. It sounds like a jet engine as it spins up.
Right, and there was such a gyroscopic feeling to it too. When you shut them down, if you held it in your hand, you could feel the universe as it spun around and stuff.
We used to carry offsite backups on 2 terabyte drives, the early 2 terabyte drives.
So hold that up again, Marco. That's the old that's an IDE mini 40 pin connector. Yeah,
it looks like a 10 gig.
Yeah, so like if you've got an older laptop and you needed an IDE hard drive, that's what you need there.
Or if you have the IDE interface from Glenside, because those worked on there.
Yeah.
I had a 20 gig Samsung on my CoCo for a while on that one.
And a source for that is I had a friend who worked on copy machines, and so some of the older office copiers still had the 40-pin mini laptop size IDE hard drives in them. So if you know anybody who works for a printer or copier company, they got some older models, that might be a source to get some of those drives. And it's like anything else. When they don't make things anymore, and you find you're in that situation, I need this one oddball drive for this one thing. It's worth its weight in gold when you don't have it and you need it.
Yep. I don't need this many myself, but I was taking them off Marc B's hand. If you need something, ask me. I've got a ton of
Yeah. Like I've still got probably maybe a half a dozen 40-pin IDE hard drives, in a box somewhere, just for a retro system I might need to fire up one day. It's like, I'm not going to throw these out. I'll probably never need them, but I'd rather have them and not need them, So,
and for any CoCo people that have picked up, old systems or dug out their old systems and still have like IBM XT interfaces like the Burke & Burke, or have a SCSI like Canton, or have the ID controller from Glenside type thing. I mean, they still work. The drivers are still out there. You can still
Right
In
now,
fact, I think John Linville's video player requires the IDE. If I remember.
Now I'm having a brain freeze because it's been so long since I've had to use one of those little IDE mini laptop hard drives. Does it still have a power connection, like a little mini Molex, like you use on a floppy, or it didn't get its power strictly from the 40-pin connector, right?
Yeah, it
It's
did.
a 44 pin actually.
Oh, it did.
Those
So
are actually a 44 pin.
okay, so the mini laptop hard drives for IDE got their power from the cable.
Yeah.
That's
So
those
I
extra
actually
4
have a little-
pins.
I actually have a little adapter that plugs into the 44 pin and then splits out a 40 pin and the power.
Ah,
Plug
okay,
into
so you
the
could
drives
retrofit one of those to fit in a PC. Yeah.
In a regular GC.
Right, right. And I've got like a generic IDE to USB adapters too. So if I needed to make one external, I've got a few of those. Hold on, let's see what Rick's holding up there. Okay, Rick's got one of the adapters that adapts the yeah.
That's a desktop IDE and Molex to the 44-pin laptop drive.
Yeah, gotcha. Right. So the laptop is in the middle there. That's that small 44 pin, and then there's your, and you always knew that was the right way because you had that notch in the middle of the 40 pin ribbon cable, right? You had the red stripe for pin 1, and you had the notch, so you to prevent you from putting them in backwards. There's your 4 pin Molex connector there. Yeah.
And what have we got? We've got a jumper so we don't feed 12 volts to drives that would.
Oh.
If you fed it 12 volts.
Have a meltdown.
Handy little gizmo.
Anyway, so Mark had these spare drives, and it's like,
Yeah.
I'm willing to give them a home and rehome them to people who need them. You know, at a
Yeah,
reasonable price.
welcome to Storage Talk, folks.
Ron was showing something too.
Yeah, I have a little drive enclosure that has a laptop.
Yeah.
160 gigabyte with it has to have these cables, and this cable has to have 2 that go into your machine and then 1 into this.
Yeah, well, I think it depends on the USB connector you have, because some of the USB 1.0s did not have enough voltage to provide power and data and stuff, so they had the double connector. But yeah, because I just recently had to buy a USB external optical drive to boot up a server because it didn't have one, and I needed to boot up a Windows OS disk. And it came with the 2 connectors in case you needed it. But I guess newer USB ports have enough voltage where you don't need the second. So, yeah, I had one like that too for old hard drive enclosures for laptops to make them external and stuff.
And what's cool is actually having it boot up, and then there's all kinds of old stuff in there you're going through. Oh, look at this. Here's some gold.
That's kind of like what Rick you was saying. He's got all these old medical records, man. You never know what you're going to find. By the way, nowadays that would be a huge HIPAA violation for anybody familiar with the Health Insurance Privacy and Portability Act of 1999, also known as HIPAA. You know, patient health information is sacred and should not ever be seen by anybody outside of the medical practice. But
Steve, how do you know about all this stuff?
I worked in hospitals for years. So,
oh,
yeah.
Were you a candy striper?
Wow, you got me speechless there. You made me speechless. Mark,
because you have to say yes.
You notice it was not an automatic no, right?
No. He's candy stripy red right now.
Oh my God! What am I gonna?
That's going to be a HIPAA violation by itself.
There it is. Yeah.
We got to go to news now.
Oh Lord! Oh.
I had one other question for Mark that shipped them to you. Were any of those drives that you shipped off to the other Mark, since we have so many Marks on the show today, were any of them originally on a CoCo? Would there be some hidden CoCo gems on any of those? Or were they all old PC drives that you pulled out?
No, they're from PCs, but they've all been scrubbed. So there is nothing on.
Well, we do have the Burke and Burke Corporation. Now we have the Marc and Mark Storage Network here. So Marc B sending the Marc O. It's a Marc and Mark Storage Hotline. Oh, Lord. All right. Will the fun ever start? Okay, that's cool. That's a neat acquisition right there. Lots of storage.
Next week you're going to have the Ron Delvaux beer.
Now,
with
Lad
candy striper shirt on.
So we have watching us on Twitch right now, Lad_MD, which is, by the way, this is Mark Siegel. So Mark Siegel from Radio Shack from Tandy's out there too. There's another Mark, a real Mark too. Okay. Do we have more news? Last call for updates for now. Any more updates, acquisitions, project updates, stories
until
to
the
tell?
special Brian Weasler segment.
Yes, until yeah. Okay, so we're gonna do game on news, Al Curtis.
Sure, if that's what you want.
Okay, we will, and we're no commercial breaks. We're just gonna keep the train rolling. So you have the Ron. If you have to go potty, you don't need a note. You don't need a hall pass. You don't have to raise your hand. Just get up and go. Well,
I don't need one either, so I'll just put up a screenshot and leave for a bit.
Yeah. All right. So
Hey, Marc B, your packing job is excellent.
Oh, thank you.
yeah, who was asking me? It was I think Brian Weasler was saying, "Have you ever shipped CoCos?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, what do you use to pack them in?" I'm like, "Well, I usually buy so much crap. I always keep all the boxes and packing material from all the stuff I've bought in the past. So I've got a little mini pack it, you ship it in my garage of boxes and bubble wrap and other stuff that I don't throw them out. So whenever I need to ship something, I just reuse.
You recycle.
Recycle, yeah. All right, Al Curtis. Game on news. The world is waiting. Come on.
Okie dokie.
Or at least 39 people anyway, so.
39 people with no lives.
That's it. There's no way to talk about our audience. We've already offended the dragon gods. Let's not piss off the rest of our audience.
And everybody named Mark. But anyway.
Everything's great shape. You do realize we don't have any lives either, otherwise.
Yeah. We don't even have any live viewers. They're all dead viewers. But anyway.
All right.
Okay, so first up, Carlos Camacho put up this one. Now, this is a screenshot from an old NEC PC6001 game. Now, the NEC was, I think, a Z80-based system from Japan, if I remember correctly.
That would be Z80, but yeah, you're probably correct.
I guess, yeah, in Japan it would be Z80, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to translate it for you Yanks.
All right.
No, it's American. It's a Z80.
Ah, okay. It was made by the Zedlog Corporation, so.
Exactly. So this one features some fish from the zoo. No, I'm just kidding. So basically, this is a screenshot of a game. Now, we've been having some things about talking about mixing video modes or mixing the color sets of video modes, because the VDG had a pretty limited palette and pretty limited selection of what colors you could pick. And games like Dragonfire really used intricate timing to switch the scan line, actually multiple times on a scan line. But Carlos put up this one, was a screenshot of an old NEC game. I don't remember what the title of it was off the top of my head, but it basically uses the pastel set on the left for your radar and your scoring and stuff.
Okay.
And then the more earthy colors on the right, which is a kind of a neat mix. And then you're not having to switch as much, but it gives you some variety.
Right. Kind of looks like a cross between River Raid and fishing to me. So
yeah, I haven't actually seen the game in action, so I'm not sure that might even be accurate. I don't know.
It even says right there, excite fishing. So that's what it says on the screen. So you actually are fishing. Okay.
Oh, cool.
Okay. Excite fishing. And fishing is exciting. If you've never fished, you don't know excitement.
Yeah. It's more exciting with lots of beer. But sitting on a melting ice floe if you're ice fishing. But anyway.
So the article says that this is doing some sort of vertical split. It may not have to be, because the NEC PC6000 has the VDG wired up differently. And its default is the semi-graphics 6 mode, except it actually has all 9 colors. Unlike the CoCo's semi-graphics 6, where you only get 2 colors out of each range. So this may be just a regular normal screen for the NEC.
Yeah, that's one thing I'd made a note about, because I seem to remember the PC6000 did let you split the screen by color set modes and stuff too.
Did it have to be on byte boundaries or anything like that, or?
Possibly, because their memory map is a complete nightmare. So.
Okay.
Well, isn't this the same mode? It's just the color set that's being switched?
The whole.
But the NEC had extra hardware, so you could control that without having to do intricate timing trips by scan line, because you'd literally have to change this color set twice every scan line to get this to work.
Right.
On a CoCo, but I don't believe on the NEC you had to go through all those suits. I think some of that was built into the hardware, so you could just tell it, 50 pixels in or whatever an even byte boundary would be. This is where the color set changes, and you just tell the hardware, and it does it on its own, I think.
Okay.
That's my understanding. Is that what you understood too?
It's Marc Allen Murphy.
This might not actually need any of that. It may be just using 9 colors in the mode and having a good day with it, because
so the NEC could change them on a byte by byte basis then?
Yeah, the memory map in the thing is completely different.
So is it like a spectrum where it has like an attribute / color set
partly
plane and then an actual pixel plane or something?
And part of it was that they had to rewire the way the VDG works at all because they were doing all of the external ROM for the kanji to get the Japanese fonts and stuff.
Oh, right, yeah.
So, yeah, it looks VDG because it is a VDG, but programming it and doing all the video stuff is almost completely different than on a CoCo.
Okay. Because it is an interesting way of doing the color set mix, and this is a good demonstration of one. Like Dragonfire couldn't do too much moving graphics on the screen that uses split mode, which is that one where you're running in the castle causeway there. And you'll notice on the one with a lot more moving stuff with the dragon shooting fireballs and stuff at you, you're running around collecting treasures. There is no color splitting on that one. It's just one mode. So it's very time intensive. But something on like this here is a little bit less. We're only doing it twice per scan line. And if you did it vertically, of course, then you wouldn't be using too much overhead CPU at all, because you could literally just have your score radar on the top in one color set, even with artifacting colors for that matter, if you're running on composite and NTSC. And then the gameplay can be in a completely different color set below it.
Yeah, I'm going to go take a look at that one and see what it's doing inside, because that's cool.
This is the same platform that your Nostromo game came from, right?
Yes, that's right.
So Mark Allen Murphy is somewhat familiar with this system.
Yeah, and it's also the current system that High Retro Game Lord, who went through a series for about a year or two on CoCo and Dragon games that we went through a couple of years back, and he's actually been doing the NEC PC6001 machine lately too.
60 saying this is definitely CSS switching. You could, of course, feed CSS from a wider data bus. There's still a delay before the CSS changes. All right, so we have different schools of thought on what it's actually doing, but the point is what we're looking at on this picture here is possible to be done on a CoCo with a VDG by just using some SAM tricks, right? Just by changing some of the modes at a certain timing interval. Could be done. Not a CoCo project, but it could be.
Yep. I mean, we've seen that technique in Dragonfire. It's already proven to work, and that's actually more intense because that's changing it multiple times.
And honestly, if you were just, as much as we say, we have the choice of 2 palettes of 4 colors in our P modes, right? We've got the red, green, blue, yellow, and then the yellow, cyan, magenta, orange. And that combination of the yellow, cyan, magenta, orange, it's really hard to get good, eye-pleasing things to do with those colors when those are the only 4 colors you have. So my hat's off to the people who have done it. But if you had all 8 colors available in even like a P mode 3 type screen, you would really open up some possibilities on mixing things up, like being able to mix like the dark blue and the cyan and coming up with a medium shade blue, doing some of the dithering effects and stuff. If they were legitimately all 8 colors available in any of those modes, it would really have expanded some of the color palette possibilities to play with,
Yeah, and there's nothing limiting you. I mean, you can technically do this as well. Instead of just changing the color set, you can also change the mode. If it's the same mode with the same, number of bytes for the screen, like say P mode 4 and a P mode 3, you could switch and get your black and white or black and green in there too, and have a certain part of the screen using that, so you can get actual black mixed in, depending on what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, neat.
Yeah, so I thought that was rather cool, and it's a rather good use of like you mentioned of extending the palette, and it's actually divided into the play screen and your score screen, which is a nice idea because.
Yeah, matter of fact, on this same system, James Gerrie's version of Canyon Climber is using that on left-hand color palette, where you still have the white border. You've got the orange, and it looks surprisingly similar to the CoCo version, and it looks surprisingly not annoying. Like when you look at Puyan, your eyes want to vomit. But you looked at how they did Canyon Climber with just those 4 the higher attribute colors for Canyon Climber. He pulled it off pretty well.
Well, I think of Puyan, because we know the actual other color set would have so much closer matched the arcade game. It's like an abomination. Why did you pick that when you had this available?
Yeah, right. Clearly, you knew there were another 4 colors, right? You knew it, and you chose not to use it.
and 4 colors that match the arcade game. It was dark blue and red, and it's pretty.
I think Steve Bjork was saying that because Steve worked with James Grind. I think he said James just loved that color screen and wanted to use it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it is appropriate for some games. Skiing would look terrible in green.
Yeah, true. Unless it was, grass skiing,
Yeah, you might have smoked a lot of grass to ski on it.
All right, next article.
Now, next up, I was hoping Nick Marotta would be on here to comment on this, but
Crikey.
I guess I don't know what happened to him and why he didn't show up. But...
Probably buying.
So
he's buying a new Ferrari.
Another 2 maybe.
Yeah.
So anyway, he's got his 5th blog up for the upcoming 0 Hour game. So in this case, he's doing, and of course, his blog is based on the design aspects of the game, not programming tips and tricks type thing.
Mm-hmm.
So in this case, he's designing the title screen, he's designing the top score screen, he's designing the bomb countdown screen, which will be actually used in the game, and how he's incorporated it into, the main game screen is where you actually select, because you have elevators going up these poles here. You'll be able to select to go which door you want to go through, kind of like his Rupert Rhythm game, which is, there's some bases of Rupert in this one as well. And Rupert, of course, never was his favorite game, so this is his time to improve it, and also merge in some aspects of Donut Dilemma, some original stuff as well. But he kind of cycles through a couple of these. When the game starts, you'd have the title screen with the credits, and then you'd have the high score and flip back and forth. And I think the bomb countdown's actually during actual game play. And then he does a little bit more here, just kind of describing, nothing to show here, but with, other game controls, which is giving some, how he's going to find certain keys for special things, like aborting a game and pausing the game and switching between RGB and composite. And as he's always said, RGB is definitely preferable, which I have to agree to too, because composite is different on every old TCRT TV and composite monitor, depending what the person set their hue and contrast and everything else to. So you don't have a fixed thing you're shooting for. You're shooting for something close, and you're not sure if it's going to be exactly right. Some people have their monitors adjusted more red, so others more orange, and light blue versus dark blue or green or something. So it's a crapshoot. Definitely pick RGB if you can.
Yep.
So it's good to see that he's been making a lot of progress in the game. He's actually put up 3 or 4 blogs, I think, in the last month. So
good on you, mate.
Next up, Fabrizio Caruso. I sure hope I pronounced that right. So he's the guy, we've shown him once or twice before. He does this universal cross-platform library system that's called CrossLib. And his goal is to make games that will run, and they're fairly simple games because of the way this has to work, that will run on like 200 different 8-bit platforms from back in the day, including Dragons and VIC-20s and Commodore 64s and Ataris and a bunch of more obscure ones almost nobody's ever heard of. And this is his 5th release using this engine. So this is the Dragon / CoCo version shown here, and it's definitely running in the Dragon PAL set here because there's no artifacting. And this particular game that he's released here is called Cross Horde. And I'll play a little bit of the video here so you can kind of see what it looks like in action, and the sound too. It's fairly simplistic. It's meant to be a cross-platform engine. You can't really do smooth sprites on that because some other ones are based on character-based,
like tile sets and stuff. Yeah. Oh, so the guys are falling and you're trying to push them up. Oh, it's kind of like the Arkanoid concept. You have to hit certain things more than once.
Yeah.
Oh, and they drop money?
Yep.
We wouldn't do this every week. I bet you don't want.
This would be a little bit loud.
Was it?
Yeah.
I had turned it down, but
yeah. Think of how great this would be, like if road rage. There's a whole bunch of cars in front of you, and somehow you could just smack them, and they would pop like a bubble, and money would fall into your vehicle.
That sounds like a CoCo VGA project for you, Steve. I won't play the whole thing. You get the idea.
Yeah, that's neat.
But it's really cool that he has this as a cross-platform, and the tool that he uses, the library that allows a translation between all these different machines, is something that he's got publicly available. So
is it his own tool, or is it an over-the-counter thing?
I think it's his own tool.
CrossLib.
Yeah. So the link Marc can post in there that does it. You can download the snapshots here for all the different games and for all the different machines.
Okay.
And there's about 200 different 8-bit machines he's currently supporting.
Wow.
So here's a description of CrossLib itself here. This basically tells you what.
Retro hardware extraction layer for coding universal demos, games, and programs for hundreds of mostly 8-bit systems, consoles, computers, scientific calculators, handheld consoles, arcade boards, hacked computer toys, etc. Cross Chase is a universal 8-bit game. Cross Shoot is the second universal. Cross Bomber and Cross
these are the
Snake.
4 he's previously released. Now he's released a split one. And
then if you scroll down, here's the architecture. So Cosmark RCA 1802 derivative. Never
Yeah, that's the
heard-
Cosmac Elf, if you remember that
Cosmac,
machine from the
okay.
mid-70s. Yeah.
MOS 6502. There's the Zlog 80 is in there. 16-bit architectures and 32 and even 32 64-bit architectures. Interesting.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting project. We have covered it before, though I hadn't seen the link to the actual library itself before. So any of you people interested in doing like a cross-platform, if you want to write a fairly simplistic game, because it's got to be kind of dumbed down to the lowest common denominators in some ways.
What do you mean? I don't understand.
Exactly, it's Steve's project.
Okay.
For all you marks out there. No.
Yeah. No, that's cool. That is very cool.
Yep. I mean, if you're just interested in the games themselves, and if you have multiple 8-bit systems, or 16 or 32 for that matter, but you have multiple retro systems, which a lot of us here on the panel do, and a lot of us in the audience do, you can actually compare and contrast the various versions and download them.
Right. So this might be a good one to do. Like, I'm working on my little bomb catching game. This is probably simple enough for that, Yep. That's based on basically, font-based graphics.
Based on basically.
Based on the basic idea. No, that's really cool. Good job, Fabrizio.
Next up, we got Jim Gerrie, who's
he's like, hold my beer, Paul Shoemaker. You may have 19 different card games, but
that's just what Jim did last week.
Yeah, right.
Actually, this isn't a new one though. This is his tweaking time. So basically, he's got some aesthetic changes to his MC10 port of the old Computing Now poker game. So he made some cosmetic changes here with some different colors, and then he was getting some suggestions in the comments. Now he's also decided to do the same thing with McCheckers. He said the contrast between the original pieces, though technically more correct, was a little bit hard to see for some people. So he's picked some different alternative colors for the checker pieces. And then he's also been improving the AI. He was fixing bugs last week when we were talking about the McCheckers, MC checkers. And this time he's actually trying to make it a bit more intelligent, because apparently it's pretty easy to beat. So he did that too. And then he's done some alternative ones here where he's changing like to a cyan and then tried to use a dark green background so that the text doesn't blare out like this.
Yeah, no, that's neat.
So I personally think this last one looks better because the text merges with the background.
And you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of like a lot of the poker tables and game tables had that green velvet, like a pool table. The green velvet thing that a lot of card game tables had. This looks like
this
that.
fits it. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Plus, it doesn't have the text literally blaring out because it's on top of another color.
Right.
It mixes in the background, so I think it looks better.
Yeah, I like that.
Next up, this is kind of a two-parter here. So Robert Sieg, I saw this post first. So he said, if we created an LP, a long play record, of Jim Gerrie's games, which ones would you add? Go ahead and add some games to Jim's Gone Gold LP. So when I first read this, I was going, that's kind of a neat idea. I mean, Rainbow did this. They had the Flexi disc in the second anniversary issue of Rainbow in July of 1983, which had, I think, 3 programs on, including some games. And you would actually put it on your turntable, take your earphone jack, put it into the CoCo's cassette earphone jack, and you could actually load the programs off of an actual Flexi disc that magazines used to hand out. Well, that's kind of a cool idea. That's not quite what they're doing here. There is actually a service now to make custom real hard plastic LPs, 12-inch LPs.
Vinyl.
You betcha.
You're talking about hard vinyl.
So this is what this idea is based on. If you see here, this eBay Custom Records 12-inch black, and I guess there are some plans about possibly taking some of Jim's best games and actually put them on a real LP, a hard LP.
Wow.
So you want to go all out retro, you can load on a retro turntable games for your retro MC10. Now there's nothing stopping us from doing this on the CoCo as well, of course.
Can we get a dozen albums for a penny, like Columbia House? Back in the day?
Yeah, and then you just have to buy 6 more at 12 times their price for the next 12 years. Right?
And if you really want to go all out expensive here, you could actually do like picture discs. If you remember the old albums from the 80s, that would be cool.
Yes, it would.
So it's a rather interesting discussion. I mean, it's I thought it was more in jest, but actually, I mean, they're doing it kind of serious here because this service is available.
So then what you do is you get the album and then you record it to cassette from the album, and then that way you've got your tapes that you can load as well. So
well, you can load directly off the album too.
Yes, you can. Jack. But no, that's really cool.
All right, now take yourself in a time where you go out to the future, right? and you've died, and your grandchildren have your stuff, and they put this record on the record player.
And they go, man, that new wave stuff was crap. And Moran's grandchildren go, oh God, that's that Sammy Gimes Grandpa always told us about.
That's right.
that was Grandpa Ron's favorite.
Yeah, that was his top 20.
Cool stuff.
And you know, the next sound you hear will be Ron rolling in his grave. But anyway.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good idea. So anyway, since it looks like they're at least semi-serious on this, if you want to vote on the 1,005 different games that Jim Gerrie's done
last week.
Yeah. Oh wait, it's 2010 now. I just got updated. So they've got a few suggestions going here. There's 6 currently in there with Coloroid leading by 4 votes, and then 2 that have 2 votes.
My number 1 vote would be to have Nightmare Highway on there.
Okay.
Is there an MC10? Is there an MC10 version of Nightmare Highway? There's got to be. Right?
I don't think so. Is there?
Well, there needs to be. We need to get.
Ken Record, get on that.
Especially with the compiler now, you can just compile it.
Yeah. Well, the original one was written as a hybrid ML and basic game. So
Nightmare Highway. Ken's saying no. Okay. But
so that means soon, right, Ken?
The day is young.
Ken says, I'm holding out for wax cylinders.
Oh, Lord.
Only available on 8-track.
Okay.
Side by side.
Oh, Jim said he was going to, so apparently Jim is planning on that. Add that to his 2011th game.
Nightmare Highway.
Anyway, you're not restricted to the ones on here. You do have the add-on option at the bottom, so if you want to add in one of Jim's games that you're a fan of, throw that on there. And if they actually do announce that they're actually doing a real LP on that, we'll definitely mention it on the show. So
cool stuff.
And then if you decide you're just tired of the games, then you can become a DJ and just do the whole
pick it. There we go. Albums, old school games and stories.
So this is a channel I've never seen before, and it's I think called Jason Vectrex. No, this is old school games and stories. Ooh.
Check out that dog in the background.
Yeah, that's the guy from Duck Hunt.
Yeah, so it's basically it's about old retro systems basically, but in this particular case, he talks about his first ever video game system that used cartridges, which was a CoCo 2.
Wow.
So I'll play a little bit. It's got that awesome generic music in the background.
Oh, hey, what's going on? Glad to stop by to hang out with me for a few minutes today. Well, today I thought I'd show you something kind of unique and special. At least to me, anyway. Have you ever seen...
What is that?
Tandy color computer.
I have not. What is that? It looks interesting.
It's got patina on it.
So this is of the TRS-80 line.
Now he like Stevie, when Stevie first started doing CoCo videos, he's trying to do a lot of his shared recollections based on memories 30, 40 years ago. So there's some factual stuff that's a little bit off. So I did send him a message just before the show because I literally just discovered this video this morning. Even inviting him to come join in on the chat on the show or maybe even on the show itself at some point.
Excellent.
Like to get him on, but yeah, he goes through some of the games he played back in the day. Now he said his video capture hardware would not capture the CoCo signal properly, so he couldn't do any videos of it. Now I think some of you guys have hit that same problem. Certain capture cards just hate.
Well, RF is a unique animal, so if we can get in contact with him, I can show him what devices I've used to capture RF. But yeah, because if he's got a stock CoCo, it's only got RF out, and that's really difficult to capture.
Okay. He goes through the fact that it had analog sticks, and then he decides to demonstrate. Now this will be strange to some of you, and he pushes it to the side and lets go, and it doesn't go back to the center.
Yeah, right. Yeah, when I did my first CoCo video, I didn't even have the hardware to reference, so I just had to Google pictures, and just make a slideshow of pictures because I didn't have the hardware. I was just trying to do recollecting and harvesting pictures off the internet. So he's definitely done a better job than my first one because he has got real hardware.
And Ken, no, he did not play color scripted, though he did play Handyman. So, in fact, I think he actually holds the cartridge up a little bit later here to show you. That's Pinball. So he goes through some of the cartridges in his collection. He's got a few, and he's trying to find some. He said also he's not a collector per se. He just wants to get some of the original games on the original hardware. So he says if he goes onto eBay and he sees a game.
Hey, is that him in the live chat right now? It is. Hey, dude.
There. Hey,
he literally just
welcome.
popped into the live chat. Wow, cool, man. We're talking about your video, dude.
Yeah, we'll have to get you on the show sometime. And if you have any questions, feel free to fire them in the chat while we're on the air here. So, but he goes through a couple of the old cartridges and he talks a bit about the games, and also Handyman. Having something that you could actually use as a work thing. And it's pretty cool because, like I said, I've never seen his channel before. So
right.
I definitely invited him over to the show. Glad you caught my message there. And ask any questions away in the chat. And
somebody said
we should have you on the show sometime.
Yeah, join us on Discord so we can talk, man. I'll put the link out there right now. So yeah.
Well, if you still have your CoCo 2 from back in the day, is that it there?
Is this your original CoCo 2?
And it's a later Tandy labeled one, so it might even be the one with the lowercase VDT built into.
Could be. Does he show anything off on screen?
Just occasionally gets a screenshot with something like that.
Okay,
so.
There we go.
And yes, he said that is his original CoCo 2.
Okay, cool.
Awesome.
Downland, good game.
So we'll have to find out if you're familiar with stuff like the CoCo SDC and stuff, which might help your collecting become much, much cheaper.
Yeah.
if you're in for the playing of the games versus the collecting of the cartridges physically.
So small. You need to stick on the game on.
Yeah, actually, we should get you to join in on that too.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, cool.
So anyway, feel free to ask questions during the show here. I'll keep an eye on the chat here once the news is over. So.
Yeah, you need an RF capture, and if we can get together offline, I'll show you some devices I've used that will capture the CoCo via RF. Your normal TV tuners won't necessarily do it, but you need something that can. But yeah, we need to get in touch, and I'll send you. I've got a few devices I've used to record CoCos off of the RF connector, an old school analog TV thing. Cool stuff.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for joining us too.
Yeah, we need more CoCo on the internet, man. Gotta have more CoCo.
Yep. And here's another one. This is a pickup video that from a person I've not seen before. This is the Jason Vectrex one. I think I got them confused. So this is just a quick little video of some pickups he got. And obviously you can see from what's underneath all the CoCo cartridges, he collects quite a bit of video game stuff for various things like PS4s and Xboxes, etc.
Scroll down a little bit on that Jason Vectrex thing. Yeah, his name used to be something else. I know this guy. We've known each other through youth, not personally, but we've been YouTube friends for a while. He's commented on some of my old videos. I recognize that picture of his profile picture. It didn't.
Okay.
He didn't used to be called Jason Vectrex. He was something else. But yeah, okay.
Okay. So anyway, he picked up a series of CoCo cartridges here, which I won't bother playing the video. It's 5 minutes, but you guys can check it out for his comments on it. But you can kind of see he's got a nice collection of CoCo 1 and 2 games here.
Yeah, and they all look pretty clean and pristine too.
Yeah, none of the labels are peeling right off like that some of mine are.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool. So a couple people, well, I guess you said this guy's not new to the
I don't
CoCo
think
community.
so. I'm not sure. Anyways, his profile picture looks familiar. It could be a complete coincidence, but I do remember somebody who used to comment on my videos and we used to chat back and forth through YouTube that had that same profile picture.
Okay. So I mean, it goes through the collection. So
Yeah. Let me hear his voice. Play the video. Might be a guy that I know.
Something in like a baseball game or something.
Hard to tell. Hard to tell.
Like $30.
Okay.
Anyway, check the video out, and I mean, if you have any comments on some of his comments on some of the games, feel free to do so.
Yeah.
Next up, Cuthbert Dragon, who's actually been cranking out videos like crazy again after that pause where he erased everything and started over, basically. I haven't really been posting too much about him lately because he's been redoing a lot of the same games he did the first rounds a year or two ago. But he's thrown in a few here I've not seen before. So Cecil Plays 21. I won't bother playing. It's just a card game. We've seen that 100 times before. But two that I wanted to particularly pick out here that I had not seen before. One, I'm trying to remember. We might have seen Two-Way Army. I can't remember. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that, Stevie. I can't remember if this is one. I'll just go back to the title screen.
That definitely looks like Scramble.
Yeah, it's a Scramble style game.
Yeah. Oh.
With digitized
Voice.
speech.
It's got voice.
Actually, I think we have seen this before. I don't think I've seen the title screen because a lot of the ones we've seen videos before, people have not played the title screen while it's loading.
Right. Now, this is pretty good. The scrolling is pretty smooth.
Yeah.
Minimal sounds, but 60 saying you must have seen Two Boy Army. It was sold through Tandy after all. Honestly, I don't ever remember.
It wasn't
seeing
sold
this.
here by Tandy.
Yeah.
That'd be unique to the UK.
Looks like you get to shoot a lot of stuff.
Not in North America. No, it looks good. I like it.
Yeah, it's one of the better scramble clones, actually. I'd rank it up there pretty close to where Liberty Run.
Yeah.
Scramble by Tom Mix looked good, but it had that shimmery scroll. It didn't look smooth. I mean, it's not a bad game either. But
Yeah, no, I like it. It looks good. It's definitely smooth. Smooth enough.
Yeah, if he has later levels in here too.
Oh, it changes colors and whatnot. Yeah.
Heavy on the whatnot.
Oh, this is like we're getting into Popstar Pilot. Yeah, Popstar Pilot territory here in Sea Dragon. All those other.
Cool Speech,
Oh,
Custom Loader,
holy
probably the first
crap.
scramble clone I played from 60 in the chat.
Oh, it's even has a British accent. Get ready, play.
Well, that makes it. I mean, what else could you possibly want in life?
That's right. That adds a touch of class. A British
Now, this
accent.
next one I for sure have not seen before. This is a version of Tron called Trun.
Trun.
Yeah. Now, it looks a bit more simplistic than the other versions and the arcade one because, like I noticed on the spider screen, they don't seem to move much. I don't know if that's a bug in the particular copies got or if that's the way the game played. But it's a rather unique take on it.
Trun. Yeah, I have never seen one called Trun before. Oh, yeah, the way it... Okay. Okay, I like the fonts. The whole thing looks very similar to... Okay. Oh, he's even got the grids for the life cycles, which most of them did not do. They just had the plain black background.
I think you can only turn on the grid.
Oh, dude, I actually like this. This is cool. The music's amazing. Now we got two tanks.
And this one too, the tanks strictly follow your position, so you can lure them out like he's doing here.
Okay.
Because they will only follow, straight vertical and horizontal. They won't figure out to go around corners on their own until they have a free spot to go to.
Okay, so I want to see the spiders and the cone. Okay, here's the spiders.
Yeah, but you notice they don't really seem to be moving. They just
no,
move
they
very
did.
slowly.
Yeah, they did though. Okay, and then there's the timer inside. That's cool. That's very. Oh, look at that! Oh, yes, me likey. This is good, dude. Oh, and the thing on the bottom's like moving up.
Yeah, because normally it's the whole thing scrolls down.
Instead of
case,
it coming
the
down, the
up.
floor is going up. Yeah. Okay, I really like this. Other than
I've never seen this one before. This is the first time I've seen video of this one, so that was cool.
It's screaming for some palette adjustments, but yeah.
Why would you ever want palette adjustments?
Trun. Oh, two bikes, dude. I really like this. Uh-oh, and they got the different speeds. Oh, he's screwed. You're screwed, dude. Level 3. Kill all tanks. Man, that guy down there is having a friggin' seizure. All right.
Anyway.
That is cool.
Idea.
I really like that. That is probably one of the better looking Tron clones for the CoCo that I've seen. I like the grid bugs. Yeah, see, they did kind of move in, but then
they do move a bit, but they move slower than the arcade
they
did
kind of
or any of the
move
CoCo
and
clones.
pause. Yeah. Okay.
That level seems too easy to me the way it's currently set up compared to the other CoCo versions.
I like what they did with the tanks, and I like that he has the actual grid behind the life cycle thing too. That is a nice touch.
Says take the small pill for more speed.
Okay, cool stuff. What's next, Curtis?
Oh, that was the only new ones I saw. Like I said, the rest of them are repeats that we've done before, but I wanted to point those two in specific out. Mainly because I'd never seen the title screen before in Two-Way Army, and then this one I've never seen before at all.
Okay. Yeah.
So there's still some gems in the Dragon market I haven't seen. So.
Yes.
This screen capture seems pretty good.
Oh, what is this? Okay, I've seen this in MAME before.
Yeah, this is Crazy Kong here being shown. But basically, this is Donkey Kong clones, bootlegs, and versions you may have not seen. Now, for some reason, they didn't cover the CoCo 3 version, which definitely should have been on this list. They do cover Donkey King. And then they compared it with some other ones too that you can kind of go through. So there's like Crazy Kong 1 and 2, Crazy Kong for the Commodore 64, Congo Kong, and it's not just strictly Donkey Kong clones; it's also derivatives. So it even has like Congo Bongo and stuff in there too.
Okay, they do mention Donkey King for the CoCo. That's good. Donkey King made the list.
Yeah, and then they have Congo Bongo from the arcade. So you can see a variety of different approaches to it on different platforms.
Like I used to play this in an arcade. There was an arcade not too far from here. Oh
wow!
And it was a special like test arcade, so they would get special machines. And Crazy Kong, I remember playing Crazy Kong. It's got the weirdest music you ever saw.
Yeah, it's totally bootleg.
Yeah,
it's not bootleg. It's actually a pre. It's like a version. When they were developing Donkey Kong, this was like where they were at one point. Because it's almost exactly
the colors are horrible.
Yeah, the colors are different, but some of the graphics are identical to Donkey Kong.
Like test market.
Yeah, exactly. This was a test version, and it would go into special test arcades. And there was one of these test arcades near me once, and when you'd go in there, you'd find regular video games, but you would also find stuff like this that you're like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
And it was basically, they would put these in the arcades to see how well they did and make changes based on feedback they would get from the operators.
Yeah, because in this case, it looks like Donkey Kong, but they've taken a couple of the P-Mode 3 color set changes that you have on the CoCo and thrown them on here, like magenta for high score and green. And anyway, sorry, go ahead, Nick.
There was a restaurant near where I grew up that had this Crazy Kong, though. So I don't know. If,
it was probably a test arcade.
Yeah, and then they made a Crazy Kong 2.
Okay.
That's the one I remember with the orange girders.
Yeah.
And this is Crazy Kong on the Commodore 64, which is quite different.
It's quite horrible.
Yeah. And then Congo Kong, which is more of a derivative.
People have issues against angled.
Now is the Atari 2600 version on here?
I'll have to check.
Okay, this almost looks like a Specky because you see
this is a Specky.
Yeah, because you see
you can see
the color bleed. Yeah. Okay.
This is another Specky.
Yeah.
What's Specky?
Spectrum.
Ignorant in.
Spectrum.
Sinclair Spectrum.
ZX Spectrum.
Yeah, or ZX.
Okay. Now that one at least the
That's a
colors.
BBC Micro.
No, the colors look more accurate. The colors, I should say. Here, Donkey King. I recognize that one.
Yeah.
Oh, I have the nostalgia here.
Biddly-doo, biddly-doo. The whole
pretty decent play there. 112,000 points already.
Wow. It's a beauty, eh?
And Congo Bongo from the arcade, which is a derivative, obviously.
Yeah.
Another C64 Kong.
An arcade version of Congo Bongo.
Pardon me?
I never knew there was an arcade version of
that's where it came from.
Yeah.
It originated in the arcade. Yeah.
Using the Zaxxon engine board.
Yeah. What it really goes to show you is how popular this game style and this game was. In 1981 when Donkey Kong was released in the States, it was kind of like Pac-Man Mania all over again. Pac-Mania. It was Donkey Kong Mania. We were just dying to get our hands on anything that looked and acted anything close to that game. That the Canyon Climber was one, so there was a ton of games that used the whole platform ladder jumping thing. And if you think about it, even something like Lode Runner is a Donkey Kong like game, and so is like Space Panic. But Donkey Kong just made this format insanely popular. So there's trillions of inspired games from that whole Donkey Kong thing, and it's simple, but it's challenging and rewarding and fun. And 40 years later, we're still talking about it and still enjoying playing games like this.
And it's still an active
and
franchise
something
too.
like Sockmaster is still doing the Donkey Kong remixes and still live streaming it, and there's still tons of people that love playing even the real Donkey Kong hardware.
I mean, there's been modern console like 3D Donkey Kongs on the Nintendo 64 and recent consoles
that franchise,
too, so.
the Mario.
I was surprised to see that the older game machines, that you went and played at stores and stuff, were 6809 machines.
Yeah, Williams used them quite a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Z80s and 6809s. That's what virtually every arcade game uses.
Now you're definitely getting the derivative market here. Some of these later ones on this video.
Okay.
And Canyon Climber.
Canyon
You
Climber.
mentioned that one.
And this looks like the Atari 800 version or something because
Yeah,
it's
it
got a
is.
different color background. And it was much slower.
Yes,
It
very
was
much.
horribly slower.
This one I remember, Cannibal Blitz on the Apple II.
Okay.
Plus.
Interesting. Yeah.
Great stuff. Yep, I remember that.
There's Jumpman, which Cashman's based on.
Okay. Interesting. That's very Atari 800 font looking there.
Hard Hat Mac.
Hard Hat Mac. I
didn't play
remember
this
playing that
one.
on the Apple. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't play that one on the Apple. I only played Cannibal Blitz.
Yeah, I tried making a CoCo version of that.
And this is not a clone at all. This logger from the arcade has nothing to do with Donkey Kong.
Not at all. Not at all.
Hey, that's the bird from whatchamacallit.
I see zero similarities here.
It's obviously a bird rolling eggs at you.
Yeah.
It's nothing.
But
in common.
I mean, the world was so in love with this type of game, we would take anything that reminded us of it in any way.
That bird was out of a different video game too.
So they had Star
Phoenix,
Wars
right?
and
Yeah.
Star Trek too with this engine.
Who knows? Yeah,
I don't know.
climb to the top of the Enterprise. There is a real Donkey Kong.
Which looks so close to the CoCo 3 version, you can't tell the difference.
Yeah, this is
Unless you look at the ladders really close.
This is a clone of the CoCo 3 version. So
there you go.
Hey, very cool. That's neat. It's neat to see.
Yeah, I love these comparison videos.
Yeah.
I mean, Frodo's been planning on doing some of these too.
And-
He's done one or two already.
Yeah, and I like the ones that the Amigos have been doing where they show them side by side. Where you can
Yeah.
see them, and then you get the speaker moving to one or the other, so you can see which one's making the noise at the time. That's a neat way to visualize it too.
I've seen a few that kind of do the Hollywood Squares version too, where they put like 15 or 16 versions all at
okay.
once on the screen,
Yeah.
all simultaneously, and they click between the sound. But that gets a little hard to follow.
Hollywood Squares.
Okay, that's neat. Donkey Kong to this day still a very popular franchise.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, darts.
Yeah. So we covered this guy, I think, was it last week or the week before, but it's a Polish guy. He's got a channel called Robos, and he does a lot of these retro things. And he'll pick a platform, and they pick a letter of the alphabet, and he'll just do some games starting with that letter on the platform.
By the
So he's
way,
doing the Dragon.
X-Roar. This is an X-Roar. Excellent emulator, X-Roar.
Yeah. And the author, Kieran, is in the chat.
Yeah.
So basically, in this one here, he covers, and I'll just show you a list here in case you guys want to see any specific ones. So there's darts, Datafall. Dragon Cobra Scanner is not a game. That's an actual scanner. It's kind of like, Ron, what was the one we had on the CoCo 1 and 2 for scanning?
Digitizer.
What is Desperado Man?
DS69?
Yes, it's like that for the Dragon. This is a Dragon version of DS69, basically.
What is Desperado Man? Is that like an outlaw cowboy type thing?
You want to check that one out?
Yeah, I like the name. You could just click on the hyperlink; it would jump you there.
I could. That'd be too easy.
Oh, that's no fun.
Okay. Oh wow, this
amazing
this
sound.
dragon has a sound chip. Yeah, it's most using the MSX.
That's one thing
keyboard
I
or something.
don't like about some of these videos. If you drown out the original sound of the game because you're playing some modern track that just doesn't cut it for me.
Okay, so where to
Now,
go?
one I wanted to point out in here that's a little bit interesting. There's a game in here called Decathlon. And I was going, well, we've seen decathlons before, so like, who cares about another Olympic decathlon? I even wrote one. But this is a decathlon of mini games that have nothing to do with the Olympics or sports.
Okay.
And they're in basic, so I mean they're fairly simple, but it was an interesting concept of having this menu where you go through your different games. And I don't know all the details of them all, but here's a list of them.
Ah.
You have blocker, hangman, spider, shootout, and all these other things. Some are low-res semi-graphics, some are P-Mode 3.1 type things. So basically, you try to go through them and do as well as you can in all 10 games to complete a full round. So like here's hangman.
Wow. Yeah, that's neat. Oh, look
Shoot
at
out
that.
the bank.
Boom. Look at that.
There's another one here, the birds, I think, dropping stuff on them.
Oh no, he's pooping on something.
It's a big old one.
Real
too.
live dragon sound.
I wonder if it hits. It goes.
Oh, you get behind the door, right? Let's be.
Yeah. Caterpillar, where you kind of do your standard caterpillars, collect things.
Chopper. Ooh, what does Chopper look like? Oh, look at that. That's nice.
Well, these are in basic, like I said, so I mean they're not high end, but it was
Yeah.
a nice concept to have. You load one program, you get 10 games to choose from menu. Kind
absolutely.
of predecessor.
Oh, this
of the
almost
SDC.
is maybe like a lunar lander where you have to land on a certain spot. I don't know.
I don't know yet. That this is a new one on me. I mean, Karen, if you've seen this one before, you can let me know.
Okay, I like it.
Was there another one you wanted to show? Carrera, I think, was one that I had not seen before,
That
which is a car game.
completely starts with the letter D too.
Yeah, you noticed it. I think because he did. I think he did C last time. And I think he figured he missed
Just
one or two. so.
finishing up. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like me, when I do my updates.
Downland. What is that? That looks interesting. Oh, cars. Look at this. Brian Weasler wants to come in. Should we let him in? Put it to a vote?
Sure. I'm just about done the game on stuff here. Back. This is the last one.
All right. Hear the roar of the engines.
Yep.
Yeah, that would make me commit suicide after about 10 minutes.
Yeah. If I
So
ever
interesting
prayed for deafness, this would be the time.
Yeah. This is why I play guitar so loud, because I don't even notice this stuff anymore. It's playing sound?
Pilot's asking, where's the couches?
This is Carrera, not the Nightmare Highway.
Uh-huh. Okay, cool. Neat. Neat.
I think Carrera translates into the Nightmare Highway.
Mm-hmm. It's Polish for Nightmare Highway.
And that is the end of the Game On news portion here. So if you want to have Brian.
Marc Brian Weasler, do you have some project updates and acquisitions you want to share with us?
Sure.
Question.
Okay, everybody.
Silly question. Actually, we should ask us how many dozen of them.
Yes. Everybody's name is Mark something today, just so you know.
Oh, okay.
I came in late too, Brian. I had no idea what the hell they were talking about.
Yeah. So you are Marc Brian Weasler.
Mark. Oh, I see that now. I just picked up on that up on the screen there. Sorry, a little slow to the game here. So, yeah. So I did post this out on Facebook. There, you guys have seen this issue here of the Rainbow magazine.
Oh yeah.
Yep. And then there was also one of the
Rainbow Book of Adventures.
Yeah, the very first Rainbow Book Adventures, the only one that size.
And then over my shoulder, this is what I wanted to show you guys. I found this poster on eBay, and it even has the Rainbow logo on it.
Oh, wow.
It's a poster of that.
Wow.
I think, if I remember correctly, they sold it right after they published the book. I think you could buy it sepapply, is what I remember. Because I did have a friend here who had one too, but it's long lost, unfortunately.
Do you know who the artist is?
Was it John Fraze, the same guy did the regular ones, or was it somebody else? I can't remember now.
Yeah,
I think it was somebody different.
I don't see anything on there. I don't see anything on the book in the corner.
It might mention in the January '83 Rainbow you've got there.
Now there is on the right here on the table. I did notice here it says 1982, and it has Crawford. I don't know if Crawford.
Oh, no, okay, that is Crawford then. He said, "I'm sorry, I was thinking John Fraze, the programmer." Yeah, Crawford's the one who did most of the Rainbow covers when they were painting them. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that's
right
there.
very nice. It very much reminds me of like a Dungeons and Dragons, user monster manual or Dungeon Master's Guide.
Sure.
You know, the old D&D hardbound books reminds me of that.
Yeah, the poster is super clear. I mean, compared to like even the book itself, just the colors just jump right off. It's really really pretty cool. So
most of the Rainbow ones that are painted covers, which most of them were, except for the very early and very late ones, were done by the same artist.
Okay. Was
There's
doing
some
the poster
CoCo on there?
Yes, there is right here. It looks like it's hard to tell if it's silver or white, but it's like a CoCo one.
Neat. That's an interesting find. I've not seen too many.
Yeah. Those are rare. I have only seen one before in my life, in real life.
What's that from?
It's from Rainbow.
From
Rainbow sold them separately. It was based. They had so much people writing in about the January '83 cover, and also because that was when they had the adventure game contest announced. And then when the actual book came out with the winners, and they used that same artwork for the cover, they had so many requests. That would make a great poster, so they decided to actually manufacture one and sell it.
Was there other posters anybody's aware of that were done, or was this maybe the only one?
I think that's the only one they did.
Only one they did? Okay.
Did that come rolled up, or did you find it on, like it is?
No, I put it. I picked up this frame yesterday.
But when it was shipped, when it was shipped to you, it was like in a tube or whatever, rolled up in a tube.
They put it in a nice tube. I was praying that they wouldn't fold it. So they rolled it up and shipped it in a nice big long square container. So they shipped it very well. So,
nice. Nice. I wonder if there's the ability to get that scanned. There's got to be large format scanners that could possibly scan that. That would be nice to have a high resolution scan of that poster.
Better yet, just give us our address and the day you're going on vacation.
I have a lot of security and cameras around, so
Yeah.
you have to evade the security. Another thing that
your
picked
time's up, Brian. All right,
Oh,
we're
I'm
moving
sorry.
on.
Okay. I thought I had a half an hour. I don't know why these caught my eye, but they were just some cassette mailers. They were
Okay.
little from Radio Shack. They were little cardboard mailers you could
Yeah,
pull up to send a cassette. I don't know. I thought they were kind of interesting.
Some of those are in red too. The first year I
Red,
went
okay.
to CoCo Fest, Matt Witt had done a project where he had found a USB drive that folded up into a plastic cassette. So it was a replica of an audio cassette, but the bottom would fold out and had a USB stick. And then at that time, this was like 2016, he had downloaded the entire Color Computer archive, put it on this USB stick that was built into a plastic cassette housing. And then he had found some of those Radio Shack mailers. It was white cardboard with the red Radio Shack logo on there. And that was his project / item for sale at that CoCo Fest was a quote unquote cassette with
cool.
the Color Computer archive on it in a actual Radio Shack mailing box. It was a neat. I've got one. I think he may have had 10 total that he'd ever produced.
Very cool.
But it was a neat project. Yeah.
Another thing I picked up here, I don't know, just kind of the front cover. Owl Nest software made this. It's called Program File. It's supposed to be for like organizing your programs.
Okay.
Comes on cassette. So it was in the original packaging. The bottom's kind of a little worse for wear, but
shredded by a rat or what?
or something.
Oh,
yes. Yeah. So it's kind of falling apart.
Hold that up again, though. Hold that up, because that is what software looked like, man. When we bought software, that's what it was. It was in a photocopied paper, baggy, stapled,
But I don't remember it tore up like that.
Yeah. That's how third-party software looked a lot of times.
Yeah,
really.
and Owl's Nest advertised in Rainbow for years.
Yeah.
Did they? Okay. Very good.
Are they related to the hardware company, the Owl?
I don't think so. I think Owl's Nest was more of normally an educational stuff. I'm trying to remember now.
Do you have your CoCos behind you sorted by shade by any chance? It's almost like a tooth whitening chart.
Yes, I do. Yes.
Okay. Sorted by shade. Okay.
So what's it great for the old silver fillings or what?
Yes, all the way. Well, you can't quite see on the others. The silver one's at the bottom, and then they work their way up. Yes.
If you wonder why color computers are expensive on eBay now, there's a reason why.
Blame Brian.
Yep.
This is just a tenth of the display.
Another thing I got here was the CoCo Extravaganza. It's kind of a neat cover. This dragon here. It comes, and I've seen the book before, but not in this little binder that all comes together. It unfortunately didn't have the disc, but the disc is available out there. It's just a book about it. It's a programming guide. Again, it has like example programs and such, for different things. But it's called the CoCo Extravaganza. So
That's cool. I've seen the book before too, but I didn't even know it was available with the little, wrap plastic sleeve and.
It kind of looks like a clamshell, like a VHS tape clamshell holder or something,
Right. Yep.
Or is it more like a binder? Is it more like the old Tandy binder ones?
No, the manual or the book actually kind of slides into a little sleeve right there on the back there, so.
That is neat. Yeah. What's the spine look like? Okay. Yeah, that's neat. That's really neat. It's kind of like a folder, Cool
Interesting
stuff.
that there's a dragon on there.
Yeah, CoCo thing with a dragon on the cover.
Right. I like the striped shirt though. Weren't those so ironic or iconic back then?
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of reminds you of a candy striper, huh?
Ron's got candy stripers on the brain today. All right.
Yep. And then there was a series here of this Color computer, that Tandy did here.
Yeah, I remember those.
Fantastic games. It's fantastic.
Right.
It's incredible.
It's
Get down. Get to the chopper.
So there was Fantastic Games, which I had this one. And then recently I also got Space Adventures.
But those were not fantastic space adventures? They're just space adventures?
Just,
Okay.
Just space adventures.
They are for the Color Computer.
Color Computer.
And then what else can you do with your TRS-80?
I'm dying to know. I'm dying to know.
What does it suggest, Brian?
What does it suggest? Does it suggest sound chips, real-time clockses, or clockses? Is that a word?
Like, is it a software book or is it a hardware project book or a mix or what is it?
I haven't had a chance to read through this one yet, but it does have software examples in there. Money minder program, variables used. So I think it just kind of gives a bunch of examples. Match and win. So
it's like a potpourri of
different things. Yes,
random programs.
Oui.
And then the other one that I've been wanting to get and just recently got, this is the most recent one, was the and I think this might have been the last one in the series, was the Programmer's Handbook. This one's a bit thicker than the others, but it has that same sort of Color.
Also for the Color computer, yes.
Yes. So got that one.
It's so nice seeing books with proper spelling.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Brian, you got to get yourself a better camera down the road.
Yeah, this thing here is kind of going in and out here.
Yeah, it does weird.
Yeah, you look better when it's out of focus, just so you know. So.
And then lastly, what I wanted to share, and these aren't all TRS-80 computer specific. They're one of those books that that gives examples for like VIC-20.
Oh yeah, it's like generic basic code, right?
So these are all some different adventure ones around.
Ooh,
computer adventure game.
That's really shiny and glossy too. It's very, very good condition.
And then the complete adventure game, Island of Secrets.
Ooh, wow! I like the artwork on that too. That's really good.
Yeah, these I've not seen before.
No.
And then this is part of the. I always mispronounce her name. Is it Usborne? Is that how these are pronounced? Usborne.
Osborne.
Osborne. Is that the letter U?
It should be an O at the beginning.
Yeah. Well.
This is
this is the British one.
Oh, is it?
Oh, okay. This is you. So yeah.
Osborne.
So here's weird computer games, and it's one of those that skull thing is kind of cool.
Weird computer.
By the way, Usborne, they have a lot of their old stuff. From
you can download the archives for free.
Download the PDFs.
Yeah.
They're on the Internet Archive, right?
Yeah. Well, even on their website, because they still make new stuff, but they've freed up a lot of their vintage computer books that you can download digitally.
Download for free?
Yeah.
And then another one in their series is Creepy.
These are really cool, man. I love the artwork, and it's so shiny. Is that still sealed? Is that shrink wrapped?
Well,
no.
This one was. Well, the other ones were a little different. This one actually has kind of a plastic.
Okay. It's super shiny.
Dust jacket sleeve or something.
Yeah, like a jacket that's on it then. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then the last one here, and we can move on, is a computer video games book of adventures. And so this one is kind of a.
Oh man. I'm in heaven. This is like, these are like gold bricks as far as I'm concerned, man. This old stuff that, and it's unfortunate now that, our generation is so digital and transaction based and, digital delivery that we're looking at stuff from 40 years ago. 40 years from now, what are people going to be looking at that we, there's nothing, there's very little paper anymore. You buy a computer. You used to get some books with the computers or even some plastic discs to reinstall your operating system. There's nothing. You get nothing with anything anymore, So it's just
it's like they're selling virtual running shoes now for thousands of dollars. Like, what the hell?
So it's just like, I pray for future archaeologists because they're going to have a much harder time reconstructing us when everything we do is all digital, so
I mean, almost anything you buy these days, either like you buy a new car and there's no owner's manual, there's a disc or maybe something.
There's a QR code.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and if you buy a product, there's like a little hard paper insert with some sort of a website or like you said, a QR code that you can go get the manual for. So exactly.
Well, if you want a good discussion on that whole subject of the virtual digital goods that everybody's doing now they're doing stuff like digital artwork that you get a digitally signed copy of artwork by somebody, pixel artwork for $1,000, $2,000 type thing. They did a discussion on that on this on Boat and Neil's show. Why am I pulling a blank in the name of it? The general retro show that Neil and Boat from Amigos do every week on Thursdays. And they had a big discussion on this because they're actually literally selling virtual running shoes for $5,000 and virtual artwork, which, I mean, you can literally take a picture of the JPEG on the screen and it's basically the same thing, or even screenshot it or whatever. But it's been digitally signed, so then all of a sudden it's worth thousands of dollars. I just don't buy it.
Not to me.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But does it have a New York Times label on the back?
Yeah.
No, it just has a digital signature.
But you know,
that's the only difference.
The other thing too is that most of the modern games now you can buy virtual clothing and weapons and armor and accessories, and you're spending real money on virtual accessories for your video game character. And there's a whole microtransaction in-game currency market. And it's amazing. That
at least makes some sense to me, because you're getting something like if you're really engaged in that game, you want to get further faster.
The whole they call that pay to win. Like there's a lot of games that are free to play but pay to win type stuff. So yeah,
to pay thousands of dollars for a screenshot, you can have an embedded crypto code in it that says that it came from certain so and so. What use is that? Except to drain your bank account. I don't understand it.
Yeah,
for bragging rights.
Hanging on the wall.
Yeah. Can't take it with you, right? So there's things that you can leave behind.
I would call this a pyramid scheme scam. That's what I would call it.
Now this wondering though is something like that to me seems the best way to pay for that would be through some type of virtual cryptocurrency too. So if I'm not getting anything real, I should pay you with something that's not real too, right? So I mean,
there's problems with cryptocurrency now too, because they found that like somebody passes away suddenly, didn't give the code to anybody, they could have thousands and thousands of dollars invested. None of their kids, their spouses can get at it.
And who gets at it?
It's just gone. No, it's just gone because nobody has the key.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So you're locking all this supposed assets up into the ether that just disappears. So
if anybody would like a digitally, virtually signed copy of anything from me, I will make you a special offer on those after the show. Send me a DM. Okay.
Yeah, $500 minimum. And
10% introductory discount.
Yeah. So. Okay, cool. What else you got, Brian?
That's it. Unless you want me to dig up some more and burn
what
some
a
more time.
Slacker. Thanks for wasting our time, Brian.
I think after a couple-week break here, you would have been going for an hour. What the heck?
Yeah, right. Okay, cool stuff. Thanks for sharing us. I love your book collection. One of these days, I'm going to have to meet you in person just to oogle over your books, because it's like books are things I love. I love the fact that people have them, and I don't mind having some, but it's a space thing. You can, when you go to collecting and storing and displaying, it becomes a huge challenge at some point in time. So I really admire your book collection, and you're passionate about them, and you've got all your tricks to get them. And one of these days, I just want to come make a trip and just geek out over your books. All right, so let's just keep the train rolling. You ready to do some news, L. Curtis Boyle?
Sure. Are you going to do an intro or no?
Yeah, I'm going to do the intro. You won't be able to hear it, but I'll run it. So when just go ahead and start screen sharing now. I'll run the intro, and then we'll be ready for it as soon as we come back.
From around the world, what you need to know. Get caught up on News with L. Curtis Boyle.
And now a Muppet News Flash.
All right, and we're back. Is this the Tim Linder thing? Because he was showing this on Discord not too long ago. Yep.
Yeah, you might know more about it than I do.
Well, we were talking about semi-graphics in general, and then Tim was like, well, I just found this cool thing you can do in the CoCo 3 40-column text mode that's kind of like semi-graphics, and, it displays the top of a character, and this is like a 40-column mode, so I think the resolution is about 320 by 192, and you can end up getting some things on the screen that very much look like what we would see like in an SG-24 screen, but with a lot more color and pixely, I think, combinations at our disposal.
Yeah, plus you can shift the characters vertically, whereas in the semi-graphics, it normally has to be the exact same scan line that would have been there in that character.
So somehow he was poking around, pun intended, and figured out how to do this, and has posted a few pictures in Discord. So,
yeah, because this allows you to basically mix text characters like Protectors 2 did, or some of the other games that took the text characters and split up each scan line.
So this is the CoCo 3 hardware text mode, right? Is that what he's using? Okay.
Yeah. So he's showing here where you're stretching them out with different settings. He tells you what the settings are for the lines per raster, etc.
Okay. That's what the normal, and that looks, you've even got where this kind of scrolling off screen there, like line 27, 28 is off screen, right? So.
Yeah. Well, he describes it here like this one has 21.3 rows of text.
21.3, 1.21 gigawatts.
Because you've got 3 different vertical resolutions you can set these modes to: 192 scan lines, 199 scan lines, 225 scan lines, and then you're changing the number of lines per character as far as the Gimes rendering it.
Yeah. I was just playing around with that, figuring out the 80 column mode, You had to
Yeah,
kind of
that's coming up.
adjust. Oh, is it?
Yeah. So yeah,
Oh,
it goes
I
to all
didn't-
these different experiments. You're going through them all, and then doing like the mixed. And here's some of the attributes where you're setting the foreground colors, the background colors, the blink, underline, etc.
Right, because this mode had attributes, right? So you could have flashing and different background colors. So
Well, the Gimme actually has both. There's two different versions of the text modes you can do. You can do one that is 2 bytes per character, which is one is the ask character, which is 128 because it doesn't use the 8th bit. Excuse me. And then the other, or sorry, and then it has the the three bits, so 8 colors for foreground, 8 colors for background, blink and underline. So it's 2 bytes per character.
Yeah.
And then you also have another one, which is just a straight tech character where you can't change the colors. It's just the stock colors you set up for that particular palette set. But it takes half the memory. So a screen that normally takes 4K would only need 2K if you don't need color and everything else. So.
right. But it really opens up the possibility of what you can throw up on a screen.
Yep. I mean, if you go on Nick Marotta's site, he's actually got the 225 scan line. He's actually got patches for basic. So if you want to do 225 scan line graphics modes, it actually will let you do an H screen 2 or whatever, and it'll actually use the extra vertical. And then you can H print, 28 lines of text instead of only 24, etc. So it gives you some options even in basic to fix things up. And of course, we support the 199 mode in Nitrous 9 as the default too, instead of just the 192 that was the old basic and the old OS 9.
At what point does the smoke come out?
Well, the smoke's coming out of my ears already just thinking about it. So
Yeah, I was going to get a bit more technical to see if we can get you to rage quit, but
yeah, that's neat. That's neat.
So did Tim mention anything further on that when?
Well, I get on Discord on and off while I'm driving, so I just hear pockets of things. But we were just I was talking, and then it was interesting that Erica was on, so we were just talking about semi-graphics and this and that and the other. And Tim's like, "Well, speaking of semi-graphics, here's what I just recently discovered you could do under CoCo 3," and he posted up a few snapshots in Stream of Consciousness, and that's the impetus of when I remember him first talking about this. So this is probably more data here than there's definitely more data here than what we discussed on the brief time I was on the call at that time. It's cool stuff.
Okay. Next up was a little surprise thing I got sent by Dave609 from our Discord chat, and he just gave it to me, I think, this morning to say if we needed something for the news. So this is a CoCo joystick test using his CoCo joystick split controller board that he's kind of custom building right now. So I thought I'd play it. He plays a little bit of Star Spores here.
Okay. And it blinks. It's got a blinky light. And the cartridge is blinking too.
Yep. I was just going to mention that.
So you got a blinky light on the joystick and a blinky light on the cartridge. And I feel a seizure coming on. But I like blinky lights.
I'm waiting for the new strobe version where it'll just look like a disco in my room every time I play it. Exactly.
Yeah, that is very cool. Mr. Dave is a hardware virtuoso, if you will.
Yeah, and he's doing a lot of interesting things like the cartridges, the custom 3D printed cartridges in color and translucent with lights and stuff.
Yeah, he just chimed in and says you can't have too many blinky lights.
Exactly. I'm waiting for him to build a full CoCo 3, CoCo VGA style monitor made of nothing but LEDs.
Yeah, blinky lights.
Bigger LEDs so you can make a screen that's like 8 feet by 10 feet or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mr. Dave. There's
here,
Brian Weasler.
Yeah, so I didn't know if this might show up a little bit better than his auto unfocused camera.
Yeah. Well, it did that to spare us having to look at his face too clearly. So. Yeah, is that the rainbow? That's the actual rainbow
that's
one.
That's the January 1983 rainbow. So I think, if I remember correctly, this is the one, it was an adventure-themed issue to begin with, but it was also the launch of the first rainbow.
And see, there you can
game.
see the CoCo a little bit better. It does look kind of semi-silverish CoCo 1, and you see a knight jumping out of the CoCo screen there.
And those are chiclet keys, by the way.
Chiclet keys, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely CoCo 1.
So you see the kind of wizard. He's got a freaking pet iguana. How many wizards had pet iguanas? I have to ask. But
most of them only had wild iguanas. I don't know why he has a pet one.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, a lot of fantasy art going on there. Yeah.
So obviously the poster is a bit more extended because of the magazine one had to cut it short to fit it with the, copyright.
Yeah,
blah, blah, blah.
I've honestly never heard of or even seen the fact that this poster existed, and the fact he got one is so cool.
I'm trying to remember. There was one. It might have been one of the late Rainbow Fest or the early CoCo Fest. One of these was actually one of the prizes given away, I think, at CoCo Fest.
Okay.
Somebody had one of these. Now, Brian, I believe you said you've actually framed this, right? Like, are you putting it in a full wooden frame, or what's your plan?
I just went to the hobby store and I just picked up one of these inexpensive $12
poster frames.
Poster frames that you can get, just so it'd be kind of protected and I can display it a little bit. So, I'm not sure how far I'll go with it, but I just wanted to do that because I've wanted to do the same thing with the folks that have done like the CoCo 3s and the CoCo 2 exploded
like
views.
the printout of the 3D model and stuff of the this would look good if you got it like a mat around it just to kind of block off all the white space. So get matted and framed. And you wouldn't have to spend a lot more money, but just like a nicer poster frame that's got a mat in it and, maybe real glass and not plastic and a nice hardwood frame. This would turn into be hangable art right here, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
And these are rare. I mean, they didn't sell a lot of these when I remember.
Yeah. Yeah, the word rare on eBay is thrown out so often on just about anything, but this is truly a rare thing. So, cool stuff. Quite jealous, Brian.
Yep, as usual. Okay, next up, CoCo Crew posted this, and I think he's cross-posted the other ones too. So basically, with Tandy Assembly coming up, they're asking for some suggestions of a speaker to actually get in person. Now, that doesn't guarantee the speaker's going to show up, or they just want to see like who they'd be interested in. So if you want to, you can vote on the people that are already on there, and then they also got the add-in option here. So if you want to add somebody that would be a good speaker to have a Tandy Assembly. So go to the CoCo Crew's Facebook page, and you can vote on that. I don't know how many people here are planning on attending Tandy Assembly this year. I know quite a few have done it in the past.
I plan to.
I am not planning on anything yet because we just don't know where things are going.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, if they have it,
it's looking better. I mean, it's improving. So, because we'll definitely want to see if we can get some people that kind of relay anything new that's happening there too, I suppose.
And with CoCo Fest being in November too, having events close to each other, sometimes you're gonna have to make that Sophie's choice.
Yeah.
So, real talker.
Yeah. So next up, Marc Gideon on Facebook CoCo group here posted photos of a fairly rare speech cartridge. I mean, it was fairly common back in the day, though probably not as much as the Tandy one, obviously. So this is Real Talker by Colorware. And this one came bundled with a software package that didn't include just it being able to type something and have it speak, but actually had an animated head that would talk.
Was it the digitized ones? Were they?
No, this is a real hardware synthesis chip inside the cartridge.
Right, but did it have the digitized people's faces of real humans talking?
Yes.
Or was it, okay,
yeah,
I remember seeing.
I'll show you that because I pulled the ad out for you. So
okay, I remember seeing some pictures of that where you had like digital people talking. Okay. And
he's got quite the 2600 collection.
Yeah, right, in the box.
Yeah. And 5200, I think that is.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, it was something that they were asking questions about. What exactly is it, type of thing. And this is the original ad.
Yeah, he was the guy.
They did.
Yeah, and I think there was a man and a woman, right? Wasn't there two different ones where you could have them talking, or was it just his face?
I'm trying to remember the difference between the Super Voice and this one, the Super Talker, because one had the inflections and stuff, and one I don't think did, but I might be
the Vectrex SC01 synth chip, voice synthesizer chip, was in the older ones. And then the Vectrex SC02 is in the one that was advertised as singing and all of that.
Yep.
It does the extra inflections.
Yeah, because I did 12-bit inflection pitch or something like that? I can't remember now.
Yeah, I'd have to look in the data sheet.
Anyway, I don't know who the person's head is. It's obviously somebody that digitized, but I think with the DS69, actually.
Colorware was CoCo Mix.
Yep.
Somebody mentioned that this guy looks like the guy from the... what was that movie where his head blows up?
Scanners,
yeah.
Now, one thing I wanted to point out from the ad here, it says speech programming by H. Punyan. I'm not sure that is, but programmed by Tim Jennison. That's a rather famous person that went on to do big things afterwards. He's done a documentary movie recently. He's also the person that created stuff on the Amiga, stuff on the PC. Like he's done a ton of stuff, all video oriented, and a lot of stuff for TV production. So there's various things he's done. Like Twit uses one of his big boards that's from his company to do all their switching.
I think this is Tim Franklin on Twitch, who's Pilot 0352 says, I always thought this was an ad for the hair club for men.
Yeah, this is the unsuccessful club part.
Yeah, right.
Maybe it's a control group. I'm not sure.
Listen, we're not all blessed with Nick Marotta's, flowing locks. So,
but the point of this is that they were trying to get something that looked like natural talking, like not just you see a lot of the old Nintendo games where just the mouth moves and nothing else.
Right.
This like the eyes blink and shift a little bit like a person normally would talking would do.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty interesting concept. I don't know how successful it was, but
it's
an
neat
interesting concept.
So yeah, Tim Jennison was one of the co-founders of New Tech,
yes,
the video toaster company on the Amiga that rendered the original Babylon 5s.
Wow.
Yes.
So,
wow.
And then after that, he started doing the video mixing boards that are used by TV stations and stuff even to this day for mixing multiple cameras and stuff. And then he did a documentary on painting. Who's the painter he did? He was a person that they were amazed how realistic he could make shadows and lighting.
Mm-hmm.
And Tim figured out how he did it back in the 15th or 16th century using special optical techniques that would project what you were looking at with a mirror down onto the paper, so you literally would just trace and shade it to match.
Oh my god.
And that's how he did his it's a really awesome documentary. And I think if I remember, Penn and Teller sponsored the making of the documentary.
Wow.
So he's still rather famous in various circles, actually. In fact,
Okay.
didn't the Video Toaster win an Academy Award for one of the tech things?
It might have, yeah.
Yeah, like he also, of course, wrote the original CoCo Max.
Well, I can tell you the list of impressive things that I've done in my lifetime is really short. So,
see, one, fathering children. Okay, we're done.
And even that's questionable. So,
well, actually, no. You helped create CoCoTALK, so that's a
okay. All right, there's one. Score one for me. All right. So, and Tim's Vermeer. The documentary
Yes,
is
that's
called
the one.
Tim's.
That's the one.
Tim's Vermeer. It's excellent.
Vermeer's the name of the painter. Tim's Vermeer because he duplicated the technique and actually duplicated the painting himself.
Okay, and
It's an awesome documentary. Go watch it if you haven't seen it already.
And that came to us from Buck Owens. Thanks, Buck.
Yes, thanks, Buck. I was spacing on the name.
Bucka
I was rather
Owens.
rushed this morning because I was running late, so I
Yeah.
didn't get a chance to research as much as I usually do.
Okay.
Next up, John Laury.
John
Laury. You were talking about doing some CoCo 3 programming for ED column modes. I'll let you explain it, then I'll play the very short clip.
Yeah, it's not really particularly impressive. I didn't even think it was going to make the news. But I was doing some studying to figure out how to kick the CoCo 3 into 80 column mode. And I was getting very, like intense into the lines per row because it changes the spacing and you have 24, 25, or 28 lines and also I did stumble across the mode. I don't know how I did it, but I was trying to figure out how to get it into the proper 80 column mode, and I got kicked into a mode where I was poking just the letter A into the right memory locations to get it to display, and it wasn't. I was expecting it to poke the letter A and then poke an attribute and then poke the letter A, but it was all a bunch of A's and it only filled half the screen, so I had to double it, and I'm like, there's no attribute. In this mode, I discovered there was no attribute character, and like you said, it took half as much memory. And then eventually I got it figured out, and then I do it from basic, where I just kind of poke things and make things work by poking. And if you do it by poking, then machine language is easy. And I went in and wrote the machine language program to kick it into 80 column mode, or actually clear the screen area, adjust the MMU so you have an area where you can actually write to write the text, and clear the screen, wrote the text, and kicked it into 80 column mode. So it's very quick, very simple, but it took me 2 days to get there.
Yeah, I mean, it's complicated. If you're used to dealing with the CoCo 1 and 2, where you just literally you poke a value and it's on the screen, and whether you're in graphics mode or text mode, it doesn't matter. But everything's there. I mean, it's all mapped in. You just have to figure out where to basic put the screen, so you can change it. On the CoCo 3, it gets more complicated because normally all high-res text and high-res graphics are mapped outside of your basic area. So you don't normally have access to those screens at all unless you fiddle with the MMU. And then you got to learn how the Gimme does things, like how do you set it up with attributes, without attributes? How do you do attribute bytes? Because that's new on the CoCo 3 as well. So it's a pretty big hill to jump the first time, which is what you had discovered.
But I mean, in the end, you just basically put the value, I think it's 36 hex into FFA2, and then the range 2000 to 2000 plus 8K to 2000 to 4000 is writable, and then you can write to the screen area. And as you can see there, I cleared the screen and put some, wrote some text, just like a.
Because I mean, on CoCo 1 and 2, if you want to clear the screen, you just store spaces, or whatever character you want to clear the screen with. And here, though, you got to worry about attribute bytes, which is not the same as the character bytes. You have to store double values all the time. And
right. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I was doing that with the D register, so I could put 20.
Yeah, you can put the attribute byte in one byte and then the character in the other.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, a bit of nerd trivia: if you have a 40 or 80 column Nitrous 9 boot screen, where it says Nitrous 9 boot and puts the names of all the modules as they're loading in, that's actually done in the 40 or 80 column mode without the attribute bytes, because we had to compress this to fit in this tiny little program that's part of the boot module. I think it's got to be 400 and some odd bytes or less, including all the code to set up the hardware and set up loading the next part of the operating system and everything else. So everything had to be compressed into this tiny thing. And having to worry about all the attribute bytes is actually starting to make it too big, so we actually stripped that out and just set the mode to be there is no attribute bytes. And then once the full loss is loaded and the windowing system is loaded, then it runs the normal attribute file stuff. But that very first white boot screen that you'll see on ease of use for some of the Nitrous 9 distributions there is using that no attribute version.
Cool. Interesting.
Nerd trivia. And I was just trying to put Stevie to sleep and didn't
No, didn't work. I want to see John's video.
Oh, we played already.
You saw it already.
Oh, that was
it. That's the whole thing.
Oh,
like I said, it wasn't particularly impressive. You could do it basic.
Okay. I thought that was something was going to follow that once you did that.
No, that was basically it. It was basically kicking it into 80 column mode, clearing the screen, and putting up some text. I could have put up some. I should have put up some attribute stuff too to show that I could control the attributes. But I mean, I got that all figured out.
Oh, okay.
So
No, that's still cool.
Whatever I want in 80 columns from assembly language.
Yeah, the one reason I put it in the news, I mean, technically it's not really what I call a news item per se, but because a lot of people are getting interested in programming in assembly language, including Stevie, that having some of these beginner things presented rather than jumping into a Nick Marotta's level thing or something I would spout off about or something like that. It's nice to do these beginning things. So when you start hitting or trying to do these things yourself, you'll realize the same issues that John just had to work through. And it might be fresh in your mind. I have to think about attribute bytes, and I have to think about MMUs.
Maybe I should post the code that I did and then comment it and show exactly what each.
I still think we should do an assembly language, CoCo 3 specific assembly language series of some sort, or even just do an occasional dip into it, just so people can kind of know, because programming the graphics and the text screens, the higher text screens on the CoCo 3 is a fair bit different than what you're used to on the CoCo 1 and 2. And we have that kind of documented already from Steve Bjork's series and some other series that have been done in the past as well. So
yeah, I don't think there's a lot of CoCo 3 specific stuff. I think there's a fair amount of general assembly, but CoCo 3 specific, especially getting into some of the gimme based modes, I don't think there's a ton of resources for that.
No, there's a Chibia Kumis or whatever, the guy from Britain that does all the different processes. He did do a CoCo 3 specific chunk of one episode where he did cover some of this stuff.
Yeah.
But he's already starting with, he starts it off as if basically a bit about assembly language already, and he's just teaching you what's different on the CoCo 3 versus blah, blah, blah. Yeah, he kind of jumps in a little bit further upstream. You've already learned a few things before you want to tackle his video. So something where John's going right from scratch, I think is a better approach for us to maybe try to
right. And I think Alan Murphy is just mentioning that there's a book that does it, but I was kind of more referring to like modern, like online resources like YouTube videos or blogs or whatever. As far as CoCo 3 specific.
Yeah, because CoCo 3 assembly language books. I mean, the only one I really know of is Lawrence Tepolt's.
Yeah, that's what Alan was referring to. Yeah, there's a.
And that's part of a 2-series set. I mean, he's got his thick one on the CoCo 1 and 2, which covers the SAM, the VDG, and blah blah blah. And then he's got the CoCo 3 addendum, which covers the new stuff on the gimme and anything that's changed.
And that was actually the one that I used, was the T-Bolt book. But even at that, it's not like it's that straightforward. And
no, it's basically an addendum, like technical reference is what it's designed to be.
Yeah, and it took me a while to kind of dig through it and figure it out.
Yeah.
Actually, what I wound up doing was putting it with 80 and then peaking the init 0, FF98, and FF99 registers to see where they were set. And that got me like almost all the way there. It wasn't quite exactly right, but then I studied the tables and figured out the last things I needed to do to get exactly what I wanted. And bang, I was there. But it took 2 days. And part of it was a stupid mistake that I had made where I loaded the A register was something, and then I stuck something in between, in the middle of another routine accidentally, and I was like, why does it keep doing it? Yeah, so I went back and I finally started from the very beginning, was going step by step, and found my mistake, and I was like, duh, and then fixed my mistake, and it worked.
Yeah, get used to that. That happens a lot.
Yeah. It does. It's so hard to do, or easy to do, man.
Yeah. 60 was saying, as kind of a half joke here, now that can I run Rogue and 80 column no attributes for extra speed redraws? Well, I won't be changing Nitrous 9, for our version of Rogue to do that, because I don't want to add in all the non-attribute support. But 60, if you're serious about doing that, if you want to do it for one of the Dragon Plus boards or something with 80 columns, I can send you the source code to Rogue, because I have it disassembled. It's partially commented at this point because I've done some modifications to it. So if you really are interested, yeah, I can send you that.
And there you go.
Cool. Next up, this was kind of cool too. Steve Adolph, it basically made a custom FD502 controller board clone, and much smaller, as you can see here, because he's using more modern chips. But he ended up making a few of the boards, or getting a few of the boards manufactured. You have to do these minimum orders for board orders, and I guess the first one he did is working fine for him. So now he has a few that he might be selling off here, or is selling off here. So he kind of explains, some of the details of it. Works with 5 1/4 and 3.5 inch drives. Works on double density. Can take different sizes of EPROMs. You can have up to 4 ROMs on it. Comes with stock Tandy DOS, and you got some room there for other DOSs. If you want to add a few extra ones like YA DOS or HTB DOS or whatever. So fully tested. Get in touch if you're interested. I don't know, because this was posted back on May 4th, if he's already sold the ones he's got available out. But I thought it was kind of cool that he actually duplicated it and compressed the space. So if you actually have real floppies you want to hook up and your controller's fried for whatever reason, this is a pretty nice solution. So I don't know if there's enough demand for real floppy controllers at this point to make a manufacturing run of these, but that's not a bad idea. And it's super small, so
yeah, you
could fit it in a regular cart. You don't need a disc-sized card or a 2-pack size card.
That's what script sits for, right?
Exactly.
Sacrifice the scripts at cart, right? So.
Yeah, I know Rick Adams and others always pick Dino Wars, but I got too many kids that I know that really like Dino Wars.
I actually like Dino Wars. I always did.
So yeah, script sit, or maybe personal finance or something
GFL
like
football.
Yeah. Okay, next up we have a black screen, so on to the next. No, I'm just kidding. So this one here is Sheldon MacDonald, and he's just released his Treasure Island Defense, which he made both the PSG version and the Game Master cartridge versions of them. So we're doing a bit more working with the PSG specifically, because the PSG is not just a sound card. It's also got extra joystick controllers on it, and it's got 512K of flash ROM on it. So it's kind of like a multi-purpose card. So what he was thinking of doing here is actually making a menu system so that you can put some other images on it besides his Treasure Island Defense game, and have a menu system that you can select a game when you boot up the CoCo, and you can just jump and play whatever you wanted to. So I'll have him do a bit of an explanation of what he's been doing here, but that's kind of the summary version. It's only 2.5 minutes. I'll probably play the whole thing. Can you tell me if this is loud enough?
No.
Hey, Sheldon MacDonald here.
Yep, loud enough.
I was doing some testing to see if I could flash my
sold by Ed Snyder of ZipsterZone.com
to the PSG board, and the first few attempts failed, but I managed to figure out that this board actually boots with the first 8K repeated, so I just had to change one of the memory banks to get the full 16K, and this is the result. It seems to
There's
be,
this game.
Seems to be working.
Yeah. CoCo VGA and sound chip.
That is so cool.
Cool. So this gives me a lot of ideas, because this board really has 512K of flash ROM available on it. It would be quite simple to add a lot more software to this for sure. So what I'm thinking of doing is creating a new graphic boot menu. I see Ed Snyder has DriveWire and a test firmware on there. So I thought it'd be neat if I added a graphical menu to that, and maybe put a few programs on there that people would like to have access to. Anyway, yeah, this has actually given me quite a few ideas now. I'm curious, just as a question, what programs would you like to see on this in a boot menu?
Color scripts.
Yeah, just write in the comments below, and I'm curious to see what people have to say. But there's no reason why we couldn't add, you know, a bunch of games or whatever to it. There's 512K of RAM there, or ROM available, so why not use some of it? All right, be curious to see what people think about changing the firmware for this device. All right, thanks for watching.
That is cool.
Did you ever make a case for that?
Did Ed make a case for that? I don't know.
Anybody?
Has anybody?
Yes, it comes with a case.
Oh, okay. I think that the challenge that, because there's a lot of flash solutions on the market. There's CoCo Flash, there's Mini Flash, there's a bunch of them. Even the CoCo SDC has a few banks, but none of them have any type of GUI to manage or use them. So what he's talking about is a great idea. You know, to be able to visualize what you have and choose what you want to boot from. And I think wasn't Nick Marentes doing something in this space too, where he was working on a way to load it up and create a menu to see what's on there?
Yeah, and like this one here, it's flash ROM combined with a hardware sound.
And somebody else is mentioning too, not only flash ROM, but there was something else, just from the flash RAM too, right? Isn't there just, who was saying that?
Yeah,
Was that you, Alan?
In Nick's case, you can flash like high scores and stuff, as well as you can flash like different games.
Yeah.
Like, say you want Gunstar.
The PSG has both flash ROM and another 512K of static RAM in it, so you could actually use it as an MMU.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, this is an all-purpose card because this has extra, like the special joystick ports. It also has the sound chip in it, you know, and flash ROM and static RAM. So it's a pretty decent multi-purpose card here. This is some of the design work that Sheldon initially did for some of the characters he was thinking of using on the menu, and I think he actually did an update recently here. Yeah, he mentions here, so far the menu looks like this with the text moving. The animated icons will be below that for you to select what you want to run from it. So he's actually going to not have just static little low-res images to choose from. They're actually going to be animated.
Oh, neat.
So this will be, and you can kind of catch the ghost in here if it's moving, but it'll be moving across the screen. Then it'll have a menu, animated menu below that of whatever ROM images you have on there to do.
How cool is that?
Yeah, what I'd like to see is using the CoCo PSG as an MMU as well, to put the OS9 boot in one bank and then use the flash RAM or the static RAM as an MMU like the Moo does.
Yeah, like a 512K CoCo 1, basically.
Yeah, and put level 2 on there.
Yeah, with the CoCo VGA support added. Yeah, that's a good idea. You're gonna do that for us, or?
Yeah, and that's gonna start with, "Hey Curtis." Hey Curtis.
No, I'm gonna officially delegate that to Bill.
Mm-hmm.
Please do. Management has.
Yeah, actually, we're kind of co-managers though, so I can't really do that. Okay, next up, Don Barber posted a message on Facebook about a manual from Tandy for the CoCo 3 diagnostic disc. Now, I know there's some CoCo diagnostic discs that I've seen before and some other people have posted before. I'd heard about a CoCo 3 one. I've never seen it. He's never seen it. The manual's on the archive. It's a few people. Paul Shoemaker said he's also tried to look for it too. Has anybody on the panel, and anybody listening wants to send in afterwards or send in the chat, ever seen the actual disc for this? Because it's distributed by Tandy for testing the CoCo 3. And it tested up to 512K of RAM. It tested double speed. It tested a whole bunch of things. And was official from Tandy. Has anybody here ever seen that, aside from the manual, which I'll show you in a second?
I've never even heard of it.
But I've looked for it too, and yeah, that would be cool to have in the archive.
Yeah, because here's the actual manual itself. So this is official Tandy. This is not third-party stuff. short notes from old Tandy there, but I'll just get to the table of contents. You can see it's copyright 1987, so it's definitely CoCo3 specific.
Mm-hmm.
And a ton of copyrights for every single separate program they got in there.
Is the text searchable?
I haven't tried to see.
Just
it's not that big of a manual.
Try and select text and see
if you can highlight text on this.
Yeah. Or if you can. Okay, so it's searchable.
It's only 10 pages, so it's not that big of a deal to look through it anyway. But basically, you can see here, like, here's a memory test, the IRQ test, a fast IRQ test, 64 color test, CoCo3 video test, CPU speed test, et cetera, et cetera. Even PAL test if you have a PAL CoCo3.
Or maybe that was palettes, I don't know. Or maybe...
Oh, yeah, actually, you might be right there. But yeah. So because it tells you, like, what the programs do, specifically what they're testing, et cetera, here. So this would have been quite nice to have if you're trying to figure out, you know, if you've got any problems with the CoCo3. But it seems to be, it's not vaporware. It obviously was out and the Tandy technicians used it. But it seems to have disappeared off the face of the earth as far as actually having the executable programs for it. Just the manual seems to still exist. So any of you out there in CoCo land watching this or listening to it on a podcast have this, please send it up to the Color Computer Archive at colorcomputerarchive.com because we'd love to get that in there to match the manual.
Absolutely.
And preserve that bit of history. Anyway, quite cool. I like I said, I've heard about it. I've never seen it before either. So, actually, that's one question for the panel. For the people that actually worked with Radio Shack or worked at Radio Shack, do any of you ever remember seeing this software run as opposed to just hearing about it?
No, I was diagnostic cartridge.
Well, this was a disc. This wasn't cartridge.
Oh, disc.
Yeah, I was a tech during the time, and I don't remember it.
Yeah, I used to hang out with the techs when I worked at the computer center. And I don't remember seeing that either.
Are you just bragging?
No, I wasn't a tech. I used to hang out with the techs. Well, I did work there.
Because the original diagnostic cartridge was designed for the original CoCo 1, so it only tested up to 16K of RAM, and it tested your joysticks and whatever else. I do know that one was fairly common. You could buy that one, and that was sellable to the public. This, as far as I know, was only internal to Tandy. It was never sold as a
interesting
something the customer can get. So maybe this was only like at the big repair centers or something like at Fort Worth.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah. It's bad if Richard Lorbieski was around, we could ask him. But
yeah. Well, Richard, if you catch the show at some point, let us know.
Cool. Robert Sieg, MC10
so now we're on to
guru.
MC10 news. Yeah. So this here was basically a demo of some screenshots from the MC10 to show the different colors that are available. And there's actually 12 colors total you can pick. There's a standard 9, black, plus the 8 normal ones. Then there's the dark green, of course, for inverse video, which is different than the other green. And then if you switch the color set, there's a dark red and an orange that's different than the regular orange. So he kind of goes through here to show you what the different modes look like. Unfortunately, they're kind of shrunk here. This is semi-graphics 6, where you get 2x3 dots per semi-graphics character. So it's a higher res of 64 by 48 instead of by 32.
Okay.
And this is the one that most people miss here. Like, this is where you can see the real orange, quote unquote. And then the orange of the text color is actually
kind of peach.
Yeah, it's a different. And then, of course, you got the darker red up there, too. That's darker than this in the middle. So you actually, I mean, if you manipulate, if you're using, like, space size characters, 32 by 16 is a mode, you actually can choose up to 11 colors simultaneously on the screen at once.
Yeah, and Simon Jonason did like a flame demo that uses mode, because you could get like red, yellow, orange, and then the peach and the dark red colors, right? So to manipulate all that in the semi-graphics mode gives you much more shades of, fire. So he did a really cool fireplace looking
it's
stuff.
really unfortunate that the MC10 didn't put in the hardware support for the SAM to be able to do the higher semi-graphics modes, because they max out at SG6 and you're done.
Yeah.
But on the CoCo, I mean, this color set's exactly the same. It's the same VDG, so you can do those types of effects. We've seen some Dragon demos and stuff that use that too.
So how does the MC10 determine where to look in memory for? Because the SAM used to tell the VDG, or the SAM tells the VDG where to look, right? Like.
Well, that's one of the reasons when you add a 20K expansion to MC10, you can't use any of that RAM for video. It has to stay in the original 4K. So I don't know if it's completely hard-coded or if it's just limited in the first, hardwired memory. Ed Snyder could explain that a lot better, or maybe 60 or somebody, but.
Yeah.
Next
Robert
up,
Sieg again.
Robert Sieg here, and this is a combination of two retro things at once. It's the MC10 attempting to print graphics on a TP10, the toilet paper printer, as I call it, which of course is a thermal printer is what it really stands for. Now this is a narrow, thermal paper thing, half the size of they're sold on rolls.
Just think gas station pump receipt.
Yeah, pretty close to that.
Yeah,
same technology for sure. The thing is, this printer was never designed to do graphics. So what he's doing here is he's mixing text characters together to try to simulate graphics. And these are some pictures of some experiments he's done of trying to, combine different things over top of each other, also just expanding larger characters to make.
It looks like he's decoding alien DNA right now.
Yeah, this looks like the Matrix, kind of a raw
black and white version of the Matrix.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But it does give him the opportunity to try to create some low-res graphic screen dumps and stuff here that you could do of the graphics characters, which normally that printer has nothing. There's no graphic blocks, nothing. It's just text.
Yeah, the alpha symbols are built into firmware, I'd imagine, right? The bitmap for them.
Yeah, so what he's doing here is he's actually telling it to print on the same line, several characters over top of each other, so you can actually create even shades. He's planning on trying to experiment with gray shades.
Oh, like gray shades. That's so clever.
To help simulate, the fact that an orange is brighter than a red or whatever you're trying to get on the screen. So he's been experimenting with it. He's not all the way there yet, but here he's doing some mapping, figuring out how the different characters mix together, etc., and how to try to combine it with the semi-graphic characters to figure out how you're going to shade it to look like that. So I'm interested to see where these experiments go. I'm imagining because it's a completely text-based printer, you probably won't get perfect, but you might be able to get something pretty useful with it. Okay, next up in the Dragon, John Whitworth of Dragon Plus Electronics, who make the Dragon Plus board, which is that 80-column card with an extra 64K of RAM that we've shown in a couple of shows previously. So the card has a separate video output normally. So you'd have the two monitors, where you'd have the native 32-column VDG on one, and then you'd have your 80-column card, and you'd write some driver that would tell it to kick over the other monitor. He's actually getting it to auto switch on the same monitor now.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
So that's more running like a CoCo 3 now, where you can actually have, multiple windows literally on, say, Nitrous 9 level 1.
I wonder how he's getting it back to the CoCo.
Well, it's a little switch, I think. It's programmatic switching, so it's a bit of hardware to do this, and it kind of allows the two signals to be switched on the board for the output to the monitor, your composite monitor or whatever. So he's just set it up that there's a hardware address you can poke something to, and then you can just tell it, I want to switch over to the 80-column card or the graphics card that's also on there, or I want to switch back to the 32-column.
But so then is he basically piping the VDG through the MSX board?
I'm not sure if it's combined on the board or if it's just after the board that it determines which one, or just before. I'm not sure exactly how it works. I'm hoping to actually ask him about that later on.
Okay.
Myself personally. And this is Paris Surratt, of course, has been helping with the MSX2 Plus stuff, which is the the sprite chip and stuff that's been added on with 16 colors, etc. So he's actually getting the auto switching working on that as well. So this is showing off the MSX2 Plus, and it's
I'm getting those two boards confused too. So that was the 80-column board, but not the
the Dragon
sprite.
Plus.
Okay.
Also,
Okay.
So this one here is using the graphics chipboard, and he's showing the switching between the two here on one single monitor here as well. And I'll let this whole one play here because it's only 27 seconds. And Paris Surratt did the game board. So.
That looks so cool. Very specky looking. And look at all these colors, man. Oh, he's like kind of shifting the screen to get it centered, and then boom. Look at this. It's even got the... You see how the blue line's like really good, very smooth.
Yep. You can even see like the screen res is different. Like if you see the border size changes because there's like I think 320 pixels wide on the MSX2 board. It's kind of like the CoCo 3 modes.
Yeah. And I'm just wondering because this is a modern digital display, if the aspect ratio is not tweaking. Where if this was on a CRT, a 4x3 CRT, it would probably you wouldn't see that top border at all. I would imagine.
Yeah, probably not. Because it reminds me of the CoCo 3, like when you switch over to an H screen with a border, that's basically what it would look like, unless you reset the border palette register. I don't know enough about the MSX2 chip to know if it has a border palette register. Maybe Parrot just hasn't set that yet on this early beta of it. But the switching between the two, and the fact you only need one monitor instead of two dedicated monitors, that's a big plus.
Yeah.
On both of those, so. And this one here is another Dragon one. Now this one here, I don't normally include for sale items unless it's like a new product or a commercial product, like I mentioned on the FD502 clone board. But this one, he posted 7 cartridges for the Dragon. The guy's named Mark Elliott, and he's just trying to get some information on them. But these are all in the original boxes, and these are cartridges, not tapes.
Interesting.
And you'll see, they've got some ones
Berserk,
like the demonstration.
Starship Chameleon, Cyrus Chess, Astroblast, Ghost Attack. Wow.
Yep. Now some of these we did see in cartridge form here, like Cyrus was sold by Tandy here, so that's.
But that wasn't on it. Was that on cartridge?
Yeah.
Okay.
Original Cyrus was.
Okay.
All the rest were third party. Starship Chameleon was by Computerware. Astroblast was
Berserk.
by Mark Data Products, as was Berserk. Cosmic Invaders, I think Spectral. Ghost Attack was a relabeled Spectral.
Ghost Gobbler. Okay. Yeah.
And the demonstration apparently is quite a rare one from some of the comments. To still have in its original box. That was the actual demo that they used in the stores for Dragon itself to demonstrate the Dragon.
Okay.
So not only does he have the cartridge of the Dragon demonstration program, which I think is a little bit rare, but he's actually got the actual case for it still, which is apparently exceedingly rare.
Mr. Dave says this looks like a Chinese takeout. Okay. All right. That's cool.
Next up, we've had some people that have repainted their cases. I think Round Devil, you have a black TDP or a
The
CoCo
Darth
one or
Vader CoCo. Now we got a Darth Vader Dragon.
Yep. And the label, because it's got a black background, actually fits it quite well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
And another guy had done that too, and he's even got a matching CRT to go with it too. So
look at that.
That looks awesome.
You don't
And the keyboard,
know
because
the
it's black
power.
and white, fits it as
Yeah.
well. So I mean, it's perfect all the way around.
Imagine the shine of the nuclear green.
Coming out. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That looks
It was
really
pretty cool to see the Dragon people are also getting into the case mod stuff, like some people here in North America have done too. And the black really looks well. I think actually on the Dragon it looks better because of the keyboard they had.
Yep.
And the color of the stickers, I think it actually matches better than the CoCo did. No offense to Ron or anybody else who's done the
Yeah.
Vader.
No, it looks good.
Privileges. So back in the early '80s, Apple sold basically black Apple IIs through Bell and Howell to schools. So
Mm.
they've been known for 40 years as the Darth Vader Apple.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think didn't they sell? I think Apple themselves sold some black Macintosh, like one of the LCs or something, 520 or something. Didn't
Yeah, that would have been later though, a decade or so later. But yeah, all the black, original black Apple IIs, they also had Bell and Howell on them.
Okay.
Wasn't the Mac that had a TV tuner in it? Wasn't that black?
Yeah, I think
Mac,
so.
I don't know if people. It's
The
a
Mac
rare
TV.
version. Yeah, Mac TV.
That looks cool. I like it.
Next up, this is called Atari Users, the name of the YouTube person. I don't know if Sloopy knows who that is, because I don't. Is Sloopy still in the call?
Sloopy, are you awake? Are you out there? Okay.
Okay. So what he's doing here is reviewing the Neotech NTK022 SCART to HDMI convert upscaler. And I decided to test it on 3 different machines: the Atari 800 XL, the Atari 130 XC, and the Dragon 32.
Okay.
So I won't go through the whole review here. Maybe it kind of shows what the box looks like. I'll just kind of show it there.
Scalar video converter SCART to HDMI. Okay.
So this would be compatible with Jason's.
With the switcheroo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got a switch there for 720 versus 1080p.
Yeah, as long as it supports composite as well, which I guess. It
Okay.
would as a
So
Dragon.
this.
Yeah. So this is an Atari demo.
And look
It
at all
seems
the
to be-
noise that's going across this. Unless that's on purpose. Is that supposed to be a star field behind that text?
Yeah,
there?
that's a star field.
Okay.
It's one of their demo scene stuff.
Yeah.
And then showing the text screen a bit.
Pretty clean. So what's the output from Atari that gets you SCART? What's Atari's normal video out? I thought it was just RF. Was there a
That's a good question.
I don't
I
remember.
think it's composite.
Is it a composite? Okay.
I think that they have RF too, but I'm pretty sure they have composite also.
Quality. I think it's too close to call.
'Cause, yeah, 'cause I think it's composite. I think it's composite. I think they have RF too, but I'm pretty sure they have composite also.
Quality. I think it's too close to call. 'Cause 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 I think it's too close to Now we're going to try on a Dragon.
Okay, let's try it on Dragon.
So first of all, we're going to be showing the computer connected directly to the TV via a SCART lead, and then we'll show it with the video scaler converter box.
Okay, this is what you'd normally expect to see from composite out, the VDG.
Yeah.
It's not
a little bit blown out.
Yeah, not super crisp.
And a bit of bleed on the right there, looks like.
Yeah, yeah.
So the Dragon screen looked a bit ropey through the SCART cable. We can make out the text. It's not too bad. Now let's have a look at what it looks like through the upscaler box.
Well, because he's pointing a camera at it, it's still hard to tell.
I think we can all agree that the picture looks noticeably worse using the video converter to HDMI box.
Really?
So that's a win for just using a SCART cable on that one.
Oh, really? Okay.
Now we're going to take a look at the picture on an Atari.
Yeah, so it's not a positive review.
Okay. Okay.
So it does show you some of the things to check out for, though, because I mean it did display fine. Like it displays that it's recognizable what it's supposed to be. And I mean the text, it's still blown out, but it seems to be crisper in certain ways. But but you're getting more patterns.
I think part of the problem with the VDG is that for whatever reason it just gives you shite output. It's just you can
not really inspect. The gaming's famous for that too.
Yeah, and so the modern technologies are really showing some of the flaws in that some of that tech that we didn't notice on analog TVs. There was so much tolerance and forgiveness, and the crispness of those tubes and stuff. The dot pitch wasn't there, so we didn't really notice it as much when you had all low-tech stuff connected to each other. But now the newer digital technology really reveals a lot of the shortcomings in this.
Yeah, I'm also thinking that particular Neotech is only scaling up composite, not the full RGB analog.
Oh.
Because the Switcheroo site has a whole article about what to look for in the difference. So the SCART, just because there's a SCART connector and cable, doesn't mean it's doing analog RGB. So
which is what SCART's designed around, right?
Yeah. So whatever the Dragon is outputting was like basically composite. All you've done is add an upscaler that's the same as the upscaler that's in the TV. If you're not getting analog RGB out of the Dragon, then there's really nothing for the little box in the TV or on the desk to do. So
that makes sense.
It's almost it's becoming a passive pass-through of the same signal.
That's all he's doing is passing through the same signal, and it's going to look the same or maybe worse because you've got an extra generation
of noise and stuff.
Gradation going on in the you got to change how you're getting the signal out of the Dragon to begin with into that SCART cable. Instead of composite, you need to pull the RGB.
Now, this is a similar conversation that I was just having with Brian Weasler last weekend. He was asking me about composite captures, where I've got two different devices that will convert composite directly to HDMI. And one of them is this very passive, and I have another one that does do some upscaling. And I do notice a difference when I try to do some MC10 stuff, where when I'm trying to record off of the MC10 composite mod I have, the upscaler on that one really makes a difference in the clarity of the text screens versus the pass-through one. So, but that one is designed specifically to be looking at upscaling a composite source versus this, which is more trying to upscale an RGB source.
Yeah, that's exactly what Alan was talking about. There's I actually picked up this cable here just recently off of eBay. And
this is my last news story, Brent. So let me stop sharing it. You can actually show that for everybody. So they know what we're talking about.
So this is Dragon DIN to SCART. So it's a passive composite. Yep. Basically, it's composite on SCART.
Yeah, correct. It has the cable that would plug into the back of the Dragon, and these are available out on eBay. There's a guy that's selling them, and that's correct. It's not doing RGB. It's basically just going from the composite out of the Dragon to a SCART connector, and I tried plugging it into the box that I use with the switcheroo, and I really did not get an improved picture. Basically the same results as that guy on the video was getting. So
Yeah, 'cause the SCART has a composite pin on it as well, which
Yes.
the switcheroo is using as for some of the sync signal.
Correct.
But there's 3 other pins that are used in the switcheroo and are in analog RGB, where it's got a red pin, a green pin, and a blue pin, and that's where you're going to see a much sharper signal on the output.
And that's what Jason uses. He uses the composite signal just for the timing, if I remember, and then he uses the RGB for the actual output in the CoCo 3.
Correct.
So you could theoretically tap the RGB pins on the VDG directly, but you'd have to modify, inside the case to do that.
Okay.
Yep.
So that explains it, right? That is an RGB upscaler and not a composite upscaler.
But I had some high hopes that maybe this cable might give me a nice output from the Dragon, and it really wasn't much of an improvement, other than I got HDMI output.
Right.
Yeah, I guess if you have a TV and then you don't have a monitor with composite in, or TV that does not have composite in, because some don't these days, at least you can plug it into.
So that thing I sent you a screenshot of, Brian, might be a better choice in that case. If you just take your normal DIN to composite on a Dragon and then run that through the composite to HDMI upscaler that I showed you, that will probably yield a better result than this thing in Jason's box.
Yep. In this case, yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, one of the things about the retro hobby, everybody's had to jump certain hurdles, but for me, trying to be able to record things and capture things, it's just a never-ending learning process on trying to retrofit these, really antiquated analog outputs to get them to show up on anything modern, and so that's been a real learning process for me, where I've bought a lot of things just with dumb luck, saying, let me buy this and see what this does, let me buy this and see what that does, and not knowing what goes on. And so to the guy who you found today with the video, who was that again, Curtis, the guy who did his CoCo 2 thing, old games and something or another, he was saying he couldn't get it to capture, and the thing that the thing with when you're trying to capture RF out, I've purchased newer TV tuners, digital to analog TV tuners that just don't do it, because RF out technically wasn't a broadcast signal, whereas a TV tuner is looking for an over-the-air broadcast signal. And what these RF switch boxes were doing was basically hacking the CRTs on the TVs and writing straight to the tube. And that's a process that became known as 240p, where we had 480i, which is what the TV broadcasting would do. This was doing a 240p right to this. We're basically hacking the tube, and we're writing straight to the tube. And so you need an analog capture device that is 240p compliant in order to be able to see this. And I found one. It's a big fat silver USB stick that I bought on eBay that just by dumb luck actually worked. And so I was able to record all kinds of stuff, old Atari 800s and Atari 2600s and ColecoVisions and all these old systems that only had RF out, including the CoCo. I could capture with this little silver USB thumbstick because it just happened to have a specific type of tuning that recognized that form of signaling. But if you just bought a generic analog TV tuner capture device, you're not going to get the RF signaling because it's not a true TV signal. It's not in spec, So there's a lot of this kind of stuff you discover when you're trying to get displays to work or captures to work, and kinds of stuff like that is just, signals and tolerance and specs and, one of the many joys of the hobby.
All technical.
So,
having a rage quit soon if that keeps up.
Yeah, right.
Right. Anyway, that was old school games and stories with
old school, yeah. And so well, definitely we want to get in touch with you. If you can jump on our Discord server so we can chat, or we'll bounce some messages back and forth if you're still out there. Our generic email is CoCoTalk@CoCoTalk.live. Definitely want to share some knowledge with you, and like to have you come on and talk about your memories and stuff like that. Cool stuff. Well, how about we do this, because we're coming up. We're kind of out of show, and I had a hard out today for some other prior commitments. How about we'll roll the outro, and then we'll have a few minutes of parting thoughts. And good show. Thanks everybody. It's amazing. We actually can squeeze in a quality show in 3 hours, if sometimes on purpose, sometimes on accident, but we got through it all. We even got through the Brian Weasler segment, although it was a short Brian Weasler segment. That's probably why. So, all right. So we're going to roll the outro. And then we'll be back for final. And thanks, Nick Marotta has rejoined us. Thanks, Nick. Thank you for all you do on the Game On segment. And we'll be back after these words. This concludes another episode of CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color computer. For all things CoCoTALK, visit us on the web at CoCoTalk.live. We'd love to hear from you. Send feedback, suggestions, even segments via email to CoCoTalk@CoCoTalk.live. Consider supporting the show with a purchase of merchandise from our retro swag shop at 8bit256.com. If you'd like to become a patron of the show, click on the Patreon link on our website, CoCoTalk.live. CoCoTalk would not exist without the community, its cast, crew, and contributors. Thanks go to Alan Murphy, Bill Noble, Brian Joyce, Brian Weasler, Curtis Boyle, D. Bruce Moore, Danny O'Connor, David Ladd, Eric Canales, Grant Leedy, James Diffendaffer, Jason Reichert, Jim Brain, Ken Reichert, Mark Bosley, Mark Overholser, Mikey Furman, MrDave6309, Nick Marentes, Nick Marotta, Nick Marotta, Nick Marotta, Paul Fiscarelli, Richard Lorbieski, Rick Adams, Rick Ulland, Rob Inman, Ron Delvaux, Samuel Gimes, Sloopy Malibu, Steve Bjork, Terry Steggy, Tom C., and many more. Please help support the CoCo community. A list of various contributors and resources are available at imacoconut.com. That's imacoconut.com. The original CoCoTalk theme song is copyright 2008 by D. Bruce Moore and Greg Sheeler. The new CoCoTalk theme song is copyright 2020 by D. Bruce Moore. Both are mixed, mastered, and produced by D. Bruce Moore. CoCo forever, people! All right, well, that concludes the show. We got an episode 211 is in the can. And, when we talk about the can, the toilet, whatever, flush the can. It doesn't matter. I want to thank everybody for being here.
Stevie.
This was the Marc episode, by the way. So we have Marc Overholser. Thank you for being here. Marc L. Curtis Boyle and Marc Brian Weasler. Marc Ron Delvaux. Marc Rick Ulland. Marc Nick Marotta. Marc Bosley. Marc John Laury. And Marc Alan Murphy. I've been Marc Stevie Stroh. Good times. Oh, by the way, we need to plug the fact that we've been having a discussion. We want to do a dragon talk. We want to do an official dragon-themed show. So there's been some initial discussions in our CoCoTalk lobby on Discord. There seems to be some interest already. There's a handful of dragon folk like Karen and Ben VR Drakes and Bamford's Steve Bosco and a handful of guys that are dragon folk that also watch our show, and we thank you for that, although today we might have lost a few of you. But we would love to do a dragon-focused show with people who actually know the machine. So we're in the kind of initial discussion phase. There seems to be some interest. We're going to move to the planning phase and scheduling and coordinating, and we'll look for an official dragon talk in maybe a month or two. I would love to do that because I know enough to be dangerous. I know the machine exists. I know it's similar to a CoCo, but there are people who know it a lot better than we do. I'd love to hear firsthand from some of the more...
Yeah, and if we can get some of the people that are actually currently involved with the new Dragon stuff, like some of these new video boards and soundboards and stuff that we've been showing on the show via YouTube videos, it'd be lovely to have them on to both discuss the project, maybe even do a quick demo of it type thing, like in real life, as opposed to just a canned YouTube video.
Yeah, so we're going to be throwing out some invitations in the Dragon Facebook group to trying to garner some interest and start kind of corralling and herding some of the folks together. We'll pick a time. We can, because the UK is 5 hours ahead of us. For them right now, when we start our show at 2:00 Florida time, it's 7 p.m. UK time, which is not the end of the world. It's not like it's midnight or anything. But if we need to bump the show down sooner to make it more amenable to the folks in the UK, we're more than happy to do that. We'll plan, we'll coordinate, we'll schedule. Marc Overholser is going to help us spearhead some of this, drive this home. But I would certainly love that because I think the machine is cool, and I like seeing some of these games we've never seen before. I love that the machine is a close cousin to us and their community is just as strong as ours, and I would love to hear firsthand from the folks who used this machine, lived with this machine, and are still working on this machine today. I think there's a lot we can, a lot of knowledge we can gain and share through this. So I look forward to
and
that.
anybody else who's in Europe. I mean, we know some Dragon owners that are in other countries too, like Germany and France and in Italy and stuff too. And if we can get all of you guys on, maybe there's a certain time that works best for the general European market of people here to have. So if, like Stevie said, if we have to shift the show an hour to any direction, whatever makes it best, we can get the most people on.
And if we can't do it live, and maybe we need to pre-record some segments with certain people just because of their schedule conflicts, we'll be more than willing to accommodate everyone who wants to help us weave this tapestry of Dragon awesomeness that we want to start getting going here. So I think
I got a question or a comment. You know, in the as the days go by, I of getting people on the CoCo group on Facebook. You know, quite a lot of people come on. Some don't contribute, but they're probably lurking. And we do have times when some of these people may get lost in some of the stuff that goes on. I was thinking maybe quarterly or maybe once a year or something, we should do a, you know, newbie show where we show everything common between the 1, 2, and 3. And emulators, and so new people can get started right away in the CoCo, and that we have an archive and all that.
Yeah.
Beginner stuff, you know, what the joysticks look like, you know.
Yeah, we have talked about doing that before, actually. I think we've kind of...
We did one a while ago. We did an episode called Back to CoCo for somebody who's new to the CoCo. But no, this is a great idea. I think the only challenge I see with these great ideas is that sometimes they're spoken and then we forget about them. So we've had a lot of great ideas of things we should do for the show. We've mentioned it, and then this is hard to remember it all. So if you could continue to remind us, Ron, and sometimes we kind of need to assign a person to it. Like Game On has been successful because Nick Marotta owns it, and he produces that for us. You know, so sometimes when we have these ideas, we almost need to have somebody run with it and make sure it gets done and it doesn't just get forgotten. I'm not saying you need to do that in general, Ron, but I'm saying, saying you specifically, but in general, we should do that. Yeah.
But I'm good with some of the, you know, if you wanted me to do something on the graphics part or the, you know, maybe printers or who knows what. But each person, if they had a little corner of maybe even in programming and games, and then, you know, just a general quick run through of, you know, this is what the CoCo can do. What are you interested in? You know, you're new here. Maybe a lot of people work with other machines.
Yeah.
And they come here and thinking, you know, well, how much is this different?
Right. Yeah, that's a great idea.
And the thing of doing this as a regular or semi-regular thing too is that there's new stuff coming out. So what might be a good beginner thing, you know, last year, there's something else that came out this year that's even better or is improved or something. So you want to be able to tell people, and you know, you have these other options now too, like when the SDC first came out, for example.
Right. No, it's a great idea. And that's where we also have the CoCoTALK lobby for you to throw those ideas out there. We've got another channel called News, Topics, and Suggestions. So if that's a suggestion for the show, throw it in there. That way we've got a kind of a written record for it, and hopefully we go back and you know, revisit some of those and reincorporate those. But a great idea, Ron Delvaux. Certainly appreciate that, and appreciate you.
I also want to add on the Dragon episode too. I don't want to not include the NTSC Dragon people, the people that have the dragons from Dragon Data in California.
Yeah, screw them.
It'd be good to get the perspectives of both the European side where it was born and where most of the development happened, but also the ones that work here in North America in 1983 when the Dragon came out, and then the people that bought it, you know, for years afterwards.
Yeah, I have one. I haven't even opened it up yet. I'm looking forward to doing an unboxing and discovering of that. Absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot we can learn about the Dragon.
I'd like to also add for the Dragon people, don't be afraid. We're friendly people. You know, you just get in here. We appreciate your hobby too, just like us. So come here and join us and be friendly. Get to know some people.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. So, final thoughts? Anyone?
Well, it would be good to do both of those things there too, because normally, as you said, we sometimes get a really good idea and we kind of forget about it and don't enact on it. But we're really good at doing bad ideas. Like we just, you know, drag those out and do them as quick as we can. So, I mean, it's to switch it around a bit.
I'm going to, as I mentioned that, I'm going to go ahead and type that up in the, trying to find it. There's CoCo. There's too many damn channels on Discord. Okay. News, topic, and suggestions. Okay. So Ron Delvaux reminds us to do a newbie show. Okay. I just threw it out there. All right, so I've thrown it in the news topic and suggestions channel, so we have a written record that at some point in time we should probably do that. Excellent. Well, thanks everybody, and we into our live audience. We appreciate you, Ken Reichert, Mark Bosley, Torsten's out there, 8-Bits in the Basement, Explore VR, Ben Drakes, and Tom Gunn, and Kevin Holloway, and Dave and Sharon, which is Mr. Dave. Sixy Karen was out there today, and so many people in the live chat.
Gimes did such a great job today.
Pilot, yeah, Ron Delvaux approved Samuel Gimes, and so
That doesn't happen often.
That's rare. That's great, Dave and Sharon.
That's rarer than that poster Brian Weezer showed us.
I think I know what his criteria are, though.
Canadian retro things.
He likes the non-singing ones. Anyway, sorry, Stevie, go ahead.
Yeah. And old school games and stories. A new CoCo broadcaster that we've just discovered. Like to get to know more about you and follow your content. Obviously, do some knowledge sharing with you if there's questions you have. What we have to remember is when somebody's new, there is so much going on that it can be information overload, and it might be intimidating. We might actually scare them away without meaning to. So we kind of have to ease the throttle on the information that we give to somebody. Oh, there's a CoCo SD, there's CoCo VGA, and there's RGB mods, and there's composite mods, and blah, 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 blah. You know, it's like, whoa, hold on, my head just exploded. So there's so much that we kind of have to pace the knowledge sometimes so we don't overwhelm them and turn them off, because it can
that's
be
where that
daunting.
beginner's episode would come in handy. And also join the Discord, because you can take questions at your own pace there. And I mean, when we've got a lot of news stories, sometimes we will have a lot of this new stuff that, you know, maybe a bit overwhelming at first, but that's for some of us old hatters who've been around for, you know, active the last few years.
Hey, how effective is the Mayu series for somebody new? Probably archaic, right?
You're talking about the Christopher Mayhew series? No, that's great. That's great.
That'd be another place somebody could
That's
go
another,
brush up on the old days.
It's definitely based on the hardware of the day of the early 80s.
Yeah, it's very period correct. Right. Yeah. Kevin Holloway says, that sounds like David Ladd, right? RS-232, TTL, ESP, DriveWire, right? So, so there's a lot of things to learn about. There's a lot of people with a lot of knowledge who are happy to share that with you. We're all passionate and enthusiastic about it, and sometimes it can be daunting and overwhelming and even intimidating. So, but just know there are people who are more than willing to help anyone learn what you need to learn. I've learned a ton in the past 5 or 6 years I've been in the hobby, and I learn more every day. That's what I love about it. And there's always something new. So it's not getting old or boring or, repetitive. It's just, the fact that we talk about news on a weekly basis for over an hour. So it's absolutely amazing. So I want to thank everybody on the panel, everybody who's watching us live. Yes, Ron Delvaux.
Paul Barton and Rick Adams need your thoughts. Paul Barton's been in the hospital. He's not home yet.
Okay.
He needs prayer for some of you that pray. And Rick's in a different situation now, and he seems to be doing pretty good. But
yeah. All right.
And also, I just want to mention, going on with the beginners thing, we were planning on doing another beginners episode, thanks to Ron's suggestion. Thank you, Ron. But I also want to mention, besides our Discord, where you can ask a lot of questions, you can also ask questions in the chat here during the show. And some people can answer stuff even if the hosts are busy. There's a lot of knowledgeable people that watch the show and are in the chat. We also have the Facebook CoCo group, which is incredibly helpful. There's a ton of people in there. There's various podcasts, depending on what your interests are, that you can also listen or watch. So there's a lot of resources here then, and we'll follow whatever pace you want.
And some people get a CoCo that's broke, and we can tell you places to send it to get it fixed.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff. Good times. That feeling of caring and sharing and community, it's all here.
Kumbaya.
Kumbaya. All right. And the only a broco is what Ken. It's not a CoCo. It's a broco when it's not working. I got a broco too over here. I need somebody to fix-o my broco so it can become a CoCo. So good times.
Realize most CoCos do work right out of the box.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
It's actually one of the more reliable machines from that time period.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the things that Karen was saying when I say I'm worried about the past. When people find us in the future, there's going to be nothing digital or nothing, no permanent records. And Karen's like, well, the computers from today won't last 40 years anyway, so you don't have to worry about that, right? So it's older.
Sad but true.
All right, we're going to press the button. Thank you all. The conversation continues on Discord. Join our Discord server, discord.cocotalk.live, where you can chat, you can text chat, you can voice chat, you can ask questions, you can shoot the breeze with fellow enthusiasts. And thank you all. Say goodbye, everybody.
See you next week.
Goodbye, everybody.